It is with great sadness that I tell you that this Joe Rogan experience is not brought to you by the Fleshlight. We've come to the end of our long road with the Fleshlight, and they were the first sponsor ever on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, and we appreciate the fuck out of that. They took a chance when we were on a laptop with snowflakes in the background, and we did 2 hard years together. And we hope...
2 really hard years.
We hope that we sold you a lot of fake pussies. That's what we sincerely hope. We hope that our relationship was profitable, and we just want to say that you guys are cool as fuck, and we enjoyed working with you. And best of luck in all you do with your rubber pussies in the future. You have a solid product, and it was an honor to represent you.
Let's do a moment
in
of
the
silence.
Field of battle.
Joe, let's do a moment of silence real quick, okay?
Do one what?
A moment of silence. All right, ready?
Okay, we're good. We're not sponsored by Alienware. People keep asking because we changed laptops. We only are doing this because I think it's a good idea to support companies who support MMA. And Alienware stepped up, and them and Dell, that's a big deal. When a company like Alienware starts sponsoring fighters, I mean, when I see that Alien logo on fighter shorts, that's a big deal to me. It's like, that's a big fucking company. Like, and Anderson Silva wore Burger King. I don't eat Burger King, but if I was going to eat Burger King, I would eat Burger King because they sponsored Anderson Silva. Not that Anderson needs it as much as, like, MMA gets a lot of these fighters, what they get in, you know, how they get money for training and to pay for, it's not just their salaries from fighting, it's from their sponsors. So if you see young guys and they're fighting, you know, for $10,000 or whatever it is, it's not, you don't get paid a lot of money when nobody knows who you are. You get paid a lot of money when you can sell tickets. But what keeps these young guys going is, especially companies like Alienware, like really high-profile companies, when they start putting their logos on your shorts, that means that there's a big company that's invested. There's a big company that's stepping up. I think that should be rewarded. And that's why we decided to do this, and we're working with Sucker Punch Entertainment and Alienware MMA, and they hooked us up with some laptops, and we're trying to support a company that supports MMA. And by the way, you know, these are not cheap laptops. They're fucking expensive, but they kick some serious ass. If you want to play games on laptops, these things are the shit. And people are like, well, you can make it yourself for cheaper. Maybe you could. I don't know.
You can't really make a laptop.
I don't know how you make a laptop
as good as these.
I
mean, you could buy shells for laptops, and you can kind of do it, but you're not going to make a fucking Alienware laptop.
If you can afford it, though, they are the shit. I mean, the frame rates on these things are ridiculous. So, you know, you watch full resolution games on these things. Yeah. They're very fun.
The one I use is even 3D, which is a fucking trip when you're really, really baked and you want to play some games in 3D in your bed.
Yeah. It's a very solid gaming laptop, and we support them. And we support Alienware, period. For nothing, for free. Or sort of. Sort of, you know, got some free shit.
Some laptops.
Get a little money out of it. Some. We are also sponsored by Onnit.com. That's ONNIT, makers of Alpha Brain. I haven't even taken mine yet. Fuck, I'm getting insecure now.
Did you hear that Onnit rattlesnake?
Is that the Onnit rattlesnake? I just got my battle ropes. I just got battle ropes in the mail.
Yo, throw me some of the Alpha Brain.
Time to get caveman style in the backyard. Scare the neighbors, you know. Let some bitches know. Yeah, when you hear your neighbor doing kettlebells in the backyard, you hear, ugh! That's a dude, like, you're probably not going to want to invite that guy over to the barbecue. Fucking weirdo.
Especially you, man. You make me uncomfortable, like, when we go work out together.
Well, dude, if you're working out correctly, it's really hard. You know, you got to work out to the point where your body's failing.
You should do it with a ball gag in your mouth when you work out. That would be
they basically have something like that. They have this thing called the training mask, and Boss Rutan has one called the Boss, I think it's the Boss O2 something or another. And it's you breathe through it, and it restricts your air. It gives you like tiny air holes to breathe out of.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Boss Rutan sits in your mouth kind of crazy, like this big giant mouthpiece. But the other one, the elevation mask, is like it's got like little hoses on it and shit.
Now, when Boss Rutan's in your mouth,
very controversial, by the way. Scientifically, not really supported.
Yeah.
It's not really supported that improves your oxygen, and it certainly doesn't do.
Seems like you could pass
what
out.
Training at altitude does. What training at altitude does is you live in a place and you stay overnight and sleep in a place where there's a very high altitude, very low oxygen. Your body naturally overproduces red blood cells to compensate for the lack of oxygen. that doesn't mean that when you restrict your oxygen, your body makes more red blood cells. It just means it's harder to breathe. I mean, it's kind of a better workout, but it's also kind of not a better workout because you're not able to work out as hard because you can't breathe as hard. You know, so unless you're in absolutely perfect shape, the benefit of it is probably negligible. I don't know what the fuck this has to do with anything we're talking about, but that's why I wouldn't work out with a ball gag.
That would
I don't think that shit would work.
I just want to hear you like doing your, because like when you don't have a ball gag in and you're working out, it sounds sexual sounds, like really intense. No, to everybody in the gym. Like girls are like fucking like
Listen, son, if
pushing
you're gonna work
closer
out,
to the elliptical.
If you're gonna do it, you should do it.
Guys are.
If you're gonna do it, you should actually. I can't actually. I don't want to have a half-ass workout ever. I don't believe in those. I think if you're going to work out, you should work out. If you're going to work out, you're going to make some noise.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
It sounds very like rapey.
Those Planet Fitness places, those are the worst where you're not allowed to moan.
Yeah.
Have you seen those places?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're literally not allowed to grunt. We don't take, they call you a meathead if you grunt.
It's because it's sexual, right? Like if it wasn't sexual sounds, it would not be illegal.
Bunch of limp dick dudes that don't want guys to get too strong. That's what that is. There's some weird fucking
gyms for insecure people.
Yeah, like you don't want to. It's one thing. There are dudes that go way too crazy. There's guys who like use it.
Go crazy.
No, where they get together. Come on, let's go. 3 more. We want 3 more. There's guys at the gym where it becomes uncomfortable. Like, come on, you bitches.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing?
Don't do that. You just make loud sexual noises that echo out throughout 4 hours.
Listen, dude, if you're gonna deadlift, you should be making some fucking noise.
Do you guys still yell lightweight? Lightweight?
No, what is that?
Ronnie Coleman.
Ronnie Coleman used to yell out lightweight? Why lightweight?
I used to hear that shit in the gym. It was
why
annoying
lightweight?
as hell.
I don't understand it.
Like that was what he would say to psych himself up for a big lift, like lightweight.
The
lift and then you
leg.
hear guys in the gym, all these Ronnie Coleman wannabes chanting that.
That guy was so big. When he was big, Jesus Christ, was Ronnie Coleman big. He was big like, what?
He was a cop, like on active duty while he was doing it. That was the really nuts shit about that. Can you imagine?
And Mr. Olympia.
That guy? Oh.
He was so fucking big. Jesus Christ, that guy was huge.
But it's, you know what? He had a big smile.
Yeah.
And I can imagine being pulled over by him. You see that. And I bet he was a decent officer. You know, there aren't a lot anymore.
Probably got all his aggressions out in the gym. I mean, to get that big, you have to work out so fucking hard. I don't care what you're taking. It doesn't just make you grow like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like that guy is working out ridiculously hard. There's something going on outside of steroids. There's a lot of hard work there. So he was probably tired all the time, just smiling, you know?
Eating.
Yeah.
Eating, always.
Eating constantly. If you're built like the Hulk, you know how much fucking calories you have to scarf down just to stay afloat? Anyway, we're brought to you by...
Oh, shit, sorry.
What the fuck are you doing, man? Brought to you by Onnit.com, makers of Alpha Brain, and as we were saying, I just got the battle ropes in the mail. Kettlebells are in. So if you haven't used kettlebells to work out, it is my personal favorite exercise. And someone corrected me on my message board. They're actually right. They said that I always say that bench press is an isolation exercise. It does work a bunch of different muscle groups. What I mean is it's an unnatural sort of a thing to just be doing this. And what I like about kettlebells is that it requires you to use your whole body. I mean, when you bench press, I guess you could push off the ground with your feet, and it does have some sort of impact. It's not like I'm against bench press. I mean, I still do conventional weightlifting too, occasionally. But I think that for me personally, if I had one piece of workout equipment that I would choose to use, it would be the kettlebell. Because you can get an amazing workout with a 35-pound kettlebell. I mean, just break your body down. Incredible. The kind of endurance strain that's like training jiu-jitsu, like when someone's trying to strangle you. Like it's the only thing that comes close to making you that tired. It's an incredible workout. And just a 35-pound kettlebell. And it strengthens your whole body. It strengthens your core, your abs, your legs. And you really don't... It's not that difficult to like formulate a workout program. You can go look at some of them that are on YouTube. There's a bunch of guys who have great DVDs out there. Mike Mahler is a great one. He's got a great DVD. My friend Steve Maxwell, fantastic DVDs out there. There's always workouts that you can find, and you can watch a DVD and follow along with it and literally get in the best fucking shape of your life. They're amazing for like actual physical usable strength. Like if you do anything that requires physical strength and you do kettlebells, it'll make it better. It's really incredible. It just makes your body just stronger as a unit, as opposed to like bicep curls. That would be a true isolation exercise. Something that's really unnatural, where you're just only really using the biceps and maybe a little bit of the forearms. Like, your body doesn't really want to move like that. Your body wants to pick things up and move as a unit. And that, in my opinion, is the best way for fitness to get your body stronger, to do full body exercises like Turkish get-ups. I mean, they're not as romantic as bicep curls.
Romantic.
It is true. It's like bicep curls are sexy.
Romantic.
Yeah, in the
Something
gym.
sexy.
That's why he screams and moans. Like,
Something sexy about it. You know what I'm saying?
Why
Just trying to get the big
headphones.
biceps.
Exactly. He gets wet.
You know, there's something sexy about it. There's something sexy about it. Because if a guy's just working his buys, all he's trying to do is look good.
Every man in the gym is having an emotional experience on some level.
Yes.
That's why we'll not
do
do
it right-
jiu-jitsu with Joe.
If you do it right, you got to get really uncomfortable, man. If you do it right, you got to feel like shit. My favorite way to feel like shit is with kettlebells. It feels like shit, and then I feel awesome afterwards. That and Hindu squats. A lot of you've been sending me tweets about that you started doing the Hindu squats and what a big difference it makes. It's fucking incredible. It's one of the best exercises you can do. You don't need a gym. Hindu squats, I do 200 of them before I do any workout, and I feel like stopping. I feel like I'm done at just 200 squats with no weight. You would think there's no way that's going to be easy. That's so easy. It's not. It's fucking hard, and it gets hard at around like 60. Like around 60, you're like, shit. And then you're into 70, and then you hit 100, and you're like, another 100 of these bitches? It's fucking great to do. And it's not like a high weight exercise. It develops your leg strength without really putting yourself in like precarious positions with weights on your back. So it's a good way to start a base of training as well. Instead of like if you're not really a guy who works out at all, and you're thinking, man, I want to get in shape. Don't go crazy and just immediately start doing squats. Our friend Kevin Pereira was in here yesterday and is all fucked up because of that very reason, because he didn't work out, and then all of a sudden he was doing crazy fucking power lifts 3 times a day. Anyway, point is, go to Onnit.com. This is our only sponsor. We only have one sponsor now. Onnit is the spot. We only have one sponsor, and yet still managed to have a 15 fucking minute commercial.
3 dream sponsors. What would your 3 dream sponsors be?
We'd have to think about that. Let's think about that.
Mine's Jack Daniels, number 1.
That would be
You have to
badass.
evolve from the fleshlight to the real doll, don't you?
It's not evolution. The real doll's creepy as fuck. The fleshlight, you're just putting something over your dick. The real doll is you're pretending that's a woman.
Isn't that a relative creepiness?
Yes, it's totally relative. But the actual fiber of the fleshlight is superior, supposedly. I shouldn't say fiber, texture.
Yeah, but have you ever
Cloth.
used a Jack Daniels bottle?
As a fleshlight?
Yeah.
My dick is way too big for that, son.
No, not if you break it off at the end.
Shut the fuck up. Brian, you're making no sense, and you're going to make me end this commercial. If that is your strategy,
Yes.
It's over. Go to Onnit.com, use the code name Rogan, and save yourself 10% off any of the supplements. The kettlebells have been selling like crazy, and the positive results that I'm getting from people who are really enjoying the workouts on Twitter that are coming like crazy too. I thank you very much. And I don't get behind anything unless I 100% believe in it. Even the fleshlight, if you want to beat off, that's better, okay? But with Onnit.com, everything we sell, especially the supplements, the first 30 pills, there is a 100% money-back guarantee. You don't have to return anything. Just say, this shit is not for me, and you get your money back. We're that confident that, 1, we're selling you something that you're going to enjoy and it's going to help you, and 2, I don't want anybody to feel ripped off, period. I'm way more concerned about having people feel like this is a even transaction and this is a good deal for them than I am about making money. Use the code name Rogan. Save 10% off any supplements. Your last name, I pronounce it Kokesh, right? I don't want to fuck this up. For
as
the
long
first
as you don't
time.
say cockish.
I wouldn't say that, dude.
Kokesh.
Adam Kokesh is here, ladies and gentlemen. We're
Adam
gonna fucking
versus the man.
We're gonna get down to the nitty gritty. We're gonna figure some shit out. Maybe. I'm not promising.
We will.
anything.
I am.
Okay, he's promising. Play the music.
No.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Beautiful. Thank you for enduring that commercial. You were here for a very emotional moment for us. The loss of the fleshlight as a sponsor, and I'm glad we got through that together.
I understand the deep emotional connection you can have with masturbatory aids. Absolutely.
It's not that; it's that they paid us. That was the deep emotional, and it's a solid product. You know, controversial, but a solid product.
You can totally pull back your microphone also. You don't. like it stretches out, so you can
screeching.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's part of what we're kind of street like that.
yeah.
A little bit
Oh, so
underground,
it's
a
like
little
I'm
screechy.
contributing to the show.
Yes.
The more if I do it like at poignant moments. and
Yeah,
just
man, it's
screech
like
the microphone.
people know, man. That was a real microphone cord there. You know,
Cat
some
clock.
shit was actually happening.
It's the cat clock.
You think they like the cat clock?
It's snowflake mentality.
You think people like the cat clock?
I think it makes it sound less professional. You know, people think when it's like all studio and stuff, it's crazy like that.
Yeah, but that clock does interrupt your thought process for a second.
It wakes you up for a second.
Maybe not. Maybe it makes you up to how retarded you are. Your fucking cat clock. The clock meows every time the hour changes.
It's got more Twitter followers on Twitter than most people have.
The cat clock does?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a cat clock on Twitter.
Yeah, Red Band, I think it's Red Band's cat clock. And it always is like, it's always like, Joe, why are you so mean to me? Or
This is why I have faith in the internet.
Oh, the internet is the ultimate balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how we met, man. Dude, you have a hat with your own name on it.
I know, it's crazy.
And a sticker with your own name on it. Like you are 100% dedicated to your show.
Yeah, well, I stop short at wearing the T-shirt usually because that's a little creepy.
The T-shirt and the hat together is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, no, that doesn't happen.
But Dice Clay was on stage at the Riviera in Vegas this weekend, and he had a Dice shirt on. It was perfect. And then he sells that shirt. It just says Dice, and the I is like a dice. You know, like a dice cube. So you're in good company with a hat with your name on it.
Thank you.
So, how long you been doing this show, Adam versus the Man?
Well, that's a good question because I got to go way back to just even explain how I started to stumble into this now independent media production.
Explain to people what your show is, or people have never heard
Sure,
of it. What
it's
is it?
AdamVersusTheMan.com. I do a daily podcast, except when I'm traveling, like I have been so much recently. But I did one in Denver the other day. But I normally do it out of my apartment in Northern Virginia. So I'm inside the Beltway near Washington D.C. I feel like dancing around the feet of the Leviathan there, and I'm able to poke the man. I'm able to poke the machine there. But I really hate living there. It's really horrific.
Weird, right?
But I do my show out of my apartment there, and I do a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Adam Kokesh, Kokesh, and I none of what I do is work anymore. I absolutely love it. And I'm obsessed with what I do. I am absolutely committed and driven and passionate about it. I have to smoke weed to slow me down, if anything. But I always do my podcast sober every morning, and we post highlights from that to YouTube. But I started in my activism way back in college, libertarians in Claremont, not too far from here. I was at Claremont McKenna, and I didn't really get it. To me, libertarian was, well, I'm not going to be a Republican or a Democrat because that shit's lame, you know? That's just too obvious. I'm going to be a libertarian. Yeah, exactly.
It's like being indie.
And it was kind of a way of sticking it to the man to say, yeah, like, down with your rules. We're for drugs and prostitution. And it was that sort of macho flash libertarianism. And my story is really of the deepening of my understanding of the philosophy of this, because I went to Iraq. In the middle of all this, I was in Fallujah in 2004. I was a reservist while I was going to college, and I volunteered for what I called my semester abroad. And I did 7 months in Fallujah with the civil affairs team. I was in combat for most of that time, and it was a really intense experience. And coming home and watching the second Battle of Fallujah play out on the front page of the New York Times, while I knew that the only reason we saw so many Marines dying was because of the political manipulations of what was happening in the city over the summer that I was there. And I was there February, September 2004, and coming back and realizing that people were dying for political bullshit was a significant turning point for me in wanting to really figure out what was behind this. And this is the thing I think that sets libertarians apart, and that I think a lot of people in my audience appreciate about your perspective, is that you ask why, and when you don't have good answers, you reject the bullshit and the propaganda, and you see past it. And your understanding of foreign policy from that perspective is very appreciated by a lot of veterans who have gone through a similar experience that I have. So I got back and I was active with the Iraq Veterans Against the War. I actually moved to D.C. to get a master's in political management. I should say, I got in trouble for bringing a pistol back from Iraq. And it was a really nice one. It was like engraved as a gift from Saddam Hussein. Had little gold-plated medallions on the pistol grips.
Wow.
Yeah, and
you got in trouble for bringing that back?
Well, it's a long story, but I had it on campus in my car. It got stolen out of my car, and instead of letting it go, I chased the guy down. And there was a campus security guy there, and that's how I got snagged for having it on campus, and it got confiscated. And I tried to go back to Iraq. And this is the thing that really the flip that they switch in your brain when you go through boot camp these days. And they've heavily developed the psychological process, the conditioning that you go through to make sure that you will obey orders and you will pull the trigger. And the reason I wanted to go back to Iraq was because I didn't get a Purple Heart the first time. Like I hadn't bled enough. And it really is a sick thing. And this is what makes the military mentality distinct. There is nothing more glorious than dying for your country. And even Patton said, no, it's making the other poor bastard die for his. But in order, as part of the conditioning, especially in the Marines, where there's that certain machismo, that first to fight attitude. And, there's a noble intent behind it. I wanted to have my life in the line for my country, but really for the people of America, and that was why I enlisted in the first place. So,
well, they looked at it as what's the best way to get people to listen to us. What's the best way to get people to do the impossible, to do the unthinkable? You tell them that that's what they're supposed to do. We have to figure out what the best way to program them is, and they figured it out. They nailed it. They got it down. That pride, that fucking that
esprit
honor,
de corps.
Yeah, that feeling they put. I mean, the training sequences in Full Metal Jacket.
But you know what? It's not just that, because the lesson to be learned here is that it's everybody who waves the American flag, the nationalism that's imbued in all of us. It's the same thing to a lesser degree, but it's still a perversion of humanity. It's still a perversion of the way human beings are designed to get along.
Right. I agree. I think the idea of being American should be an ideal. It should be an idea that we have in our head. It should be we should look at being American as something we should aspire to. But the idea that somehow or another we're against them or they're against us, like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? We don't even know them.
You that's can have what it is pride. To me, yeah. And it's not about the arbitrary lines set up by government around this order. It's the American heritage, the American tradition of moving towards greater freedom. And the step that represented, the whole Revolutionary War is a step forward in the human understanding of liberty. But, it's an idea that's global. It's essential to the human nature. It doesn't, and now we see that America, as defined by any specific thing other than that, is, let's be honest, kind of fucking disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. It's scary. And America should be what we can contribute. What is our potential? Our potential to contribute is so much greater. America's not the military-industrial complex. America's the best fucking music that's ever been created. America's the best movies that's ever been created. The most creativity, the most design, all that shit. I mean, and I love my friends in Europe. I love the Japanese. I'm not saying that I did any of this. I'm not taking any credit for this. I'm a fucking idiot. I've never invented shit in my life. But if I look at it objectively, even if I lived in Spain, I would tell you this. I'd be like, look at this freak motherfucker country that in 200 years exploded onto the map, covered the globe with weapons, controlled the whole thing, locked it all down, started wars. Like, whoa, what a crazy little country you guys got.
And then got really fat and stupid.
Yeah, it's fat and lazy in a lot of ways. A lot of dumb shit going on. Well, it's just corruption. You can't maintain a steady ship with a constant flow of corruption. Eventually, it just goes off the rails. Eventually, it's not going to balance out. You're not being honest about how you're running things. This whole thing is disgusting. Like, it's not like there was a threat that we needed to go after. No, you guys are creating problems so you can capitalize on resources. Like, it couldn't be any more obvious.
That's kind of the definition of government, though.
Yeah, but it's the scariest thing ever that most people would never believe that if you told them that. They would say, that is hippie bullshit. That is nonsense. Who the fuck do you think you are to think like that? What kind of a person are you? This is America.
Well, you said it in, I listened to your podcast with Giorgio Tsoukalos, and you said, with aliens, like, everybody's looking for a daddy, and it's this manifestation of that psychological desire to be taken care of. And what's worse is with government, for a lot of people, you said it was aliens and it was God and religion and I don't know what else. You said a couple other things, but you didn't say it was government, and that's the big one, and that's the global paradigm. That's like the phase of evolution that we're at in humanity, that we're seeing the institutionalizational collapse of. When we see, this is all centered around the scam of the central banks, of the fiat currency, because that's how they really rip us off. Everything else is about control, but that's the real incentive. It's all about exploitation. That's what motivates everything.
Yeah.
That's what motivates government.
The banking system is so confusing for people, though. When you say the banking system, it's like you might as well just be making some noises with your mouth. Nobody really even understands what the fuck is going on.
It's propaganda,
and
it's designed to make you confused.
And when you look at how much money they have, and you go, wait a minute, what is that exactly? Because what the fuck do you do that you get all these ones and zeros? Where's it all coming from? How do you work that?
Well, here's why they don't teach economics in high school, though. I mean, because the basic concepts that anybody can understand would have you very easily come to the conclusion with a very sound basis of rationale and understanding of economic framework to get to the point where you can really, really know, we're getting fucked. Yeah. That like all of the exponential increases in productivity that should lead to an increase in quality of life for everybody, it's still going up, and we still see it. The fact that we have smartphones and computers and all this shit, and that the average American is so much better off. That's still an exponential growth. But what it would really be if you didn't have everybody who's on the teat of government sucking all this wealth away would have us, in flying cars by now. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but you see the wealth that's being sucked away and what the implication is of that. We are getting fucked. And what's worse is that we're institutionalizing a system that is not just a system that robs from us, but that kills people. Yeah. That's the police state, the military-industrial complex, the spasms of statism, of our but what government fundamentally is the institutionalization of all of our desires to control and dominate and manipulate others by force. It's pathological behavior.
It's pathological, and it's based on fear. It's based on putting fear into its citizens and being afraid of the other people in the world. The other people are not us. And, until we figure out a way to treat everyone that we meet in this life as if it was you living another life, until the world can adopt and develop that attitude, we're always going to have cunts that are going to lead us against other cunts. I mean, that's just the way it is. We are a flawed, fucked up species, and somehow or another, we still have the echoes and remnants of the bygone sword fights in our fucking DNA. That shit still rattles around inside our head, and at the highest levels of government, they're willing to just sacrifice lives for money at a drop of a hat. They're not worried about it at all. And they're going to go and clean up afterwards and make money on that as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a staggering business that's based on 100% horseshit. The idea that no one went to jail after that whole weapons of mass destruction thing in Iraq, the fact that none of those cunts went to jail for lying about weapons of mass destruction being in Iraq, just that alone, it just shows you, like, what the fuck did you do? Like, how do you not go to jail for that? If you can't go to jail for that, how are you trying to pretend that this is a just system? You guys made some shit up about weapons of mass destruction purposely to get people to go to war, and then a million people are dead now. And you don't think you fucked up? You think that was the smart move? Whoa.
But you know why that's possible? Because the people that supported it would rather live with that cognitive dissonance than face up to the truth.
Yeah, I guess. It's also
it's harder because we have such a psychological investment in America, in our national, we're Americans, that is who we are. And it's like, no, you're a human being. And you have to see past that. But
when you meet nice people from other countries and you're like, poor fuck though, he's Canadian. Can't be American. People think like that. You meet someone in Norway, man, like, poor guy born in Norway and shit. Meanwhile, he's having a great time. We have a very distinct and intense form of nationalism because we're such a war culture. I mean, we don't want to think of ourselves as that. We like to think of ourselves as educated, enlightened people. But as a collective, if we really are accepting the fact that we move as a group, damn, we're doing some shitty things.
You know what, though? I don't think anyone is
thinking about
honestly, even, that's the thing. They're not even looking at, everybody who's looking at it like you are, with an honest eye, can see through all that, and it's the result of people not even thinking. Because as soon as you think on that level, you want to change it, and really that's what this movement that we think of ourselves right now as a part of the Levolution. That's really our objective.
Do you think that in the past they were able to get things off much easier, so they have this sort of pattern of behavior and the way they do business as far as how we go to war, like the Gulf of Tonkin type shit? where they could get away with stuff like that in the
Yeah.
past, but
Oh,
today
yeah.
with this like this sort of the same group are basically in charge. I mean, they've evolved somewhat, but I mean, there's photos of Rumsfeld shaking hands with Saddam Hussein. You know, I mean, it's from a long time ago. When was it the Reagan administration? Is that what it was from?
It was during the Iran-Iraq war
Yeah,
when we
so-
were supporting Iraq.
Yeah, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
I mean,
we excuse me. You know what? I gotta stop myself there. See, that's how
Right,
fucked
we.
up this is. This is how ingrained
Yeah.
it is in the paradigm. You know, even when I'm talking about the worst fucking shit that government does, the most offensive shit, I cuss on my show, and I get shit for it from my audience sometimes. But I said
well, they're all silly.
I'm gonna have a
Silly
curse jar.
fuckers.
I'm gonna put a curse jar, and
Why?
every time I use statist collectivist language, every time I say
Oh, like we.
to refer to
Yeah.
myself as part of the evil federal government that commits these crimes, I am going to punish myself by putting a quarter in the real curse jar.
Sounds like something John Heffron would do.
End of the ladder, at the top of the ladder, it really is a bunch of old white dudes with war money. I mean, that's really what it is. Like when you look at the people that run Halliburton, you look at Dick Cheney, you look at, there's old white dudes with war money. I mean, they're in the business of war. I mean,
Well, really, the
if you
war
look
is-
at the
is-
percentage of the income that Halliburton, how much they profit off
Yeah.
of war,
Yeah.
that's a staggering
But
number.
as disgusting as that war money is for Halliburton, what it's really about is the bankster money. It's about the money that goes through the financial system that flows faster for war. But you know what? Let me tell you my long view perspective here, because I'm much more optimistic.
Really?
And when you understand government to be pathological behavior, whenever you say we need government for something, you're saying we can't solve this peacefully. We need to somehow, as the majority, impose our will on the minority, or we need to take money from people by force because they're not charitable enough, or
Right.
they don't care about their own defense enough, or whatever it is. We can't do it peacefully. We need force. We need coercion, and it really comes out of the monkey brain. It comes out of that when we evolved in the state of nature, it was in our best interest that whoever was the biggest, whoever could pick up the biggest rock was in charge.
Yeah.
And you go along to get along, otherwise you don't eat tonight. And we're evolving past that. And as we develop greater technological dominance over our environment, as we are better able to process information, all of these things are leading to the evolution towards a stateless society. We are evolving past this phase of statism. And like you were saying about what they get away with in war, to answer your question, they get away with less. It's harder to come up with an excuse now. I mean, look at, and it's really sad to see that we're marching to war in Iran, but I've made the prediction for a while now that we'd see boots on the ground in Syria first, because it's much better propaganda to have a humanitarian war where we can save a bunch of people from an evil dictator than, well, it's the clash of nations and we're trying to keep Iran from arming themselves, and that propaganda is kind of wearing thin. But it's scary now to see they might get away with that. They might get a war in Iran, and it's all absolutely. I mean, but it's in the 21st century, with the historical perspective that we have, is war just not fucking embarrassing at this point?
Yeah, it should be. What's fascinating to me is this thing that's going on in Pakistan. If that isn't racist, I don't know what is. This flying of drones that shoot missiles and blow up citizens.
It's cowardly. Obama's a fucking murderer.
It's ridiculous. The idea that we just accept it. I believe you that there's some bad Taliban guys out there that want to commit terrible things, and we need to get to them. But you need to be a little bit more accurate, bitch. Imagine if they were using those things in Germany or Japan or anywhere that we're allies with, and it caused this kind of damage. But the fact that it's happening in Pakistan,
it's brown people on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, what are they doing? They lost a donkey,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these poor fucks. They look at them like they're living a shit life anyway.
Well, it's one of the things that they have done recently in with the Taliban. They've said that they're going to stop administering polio vaccines if they don't stop the drone strikes, because the PTSD that they are causing in the population is worse than having fucking polio. I mean, how sick is this? But I got a quote here. This is Anwar al-Awlaki, the New Mexico-born man that was killed in Yemen by a drone strike ordered by Obama. His 16-year-old son was also murdered the same way a week later. You probably heard that story, Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki. And he was made out to be the great propagandist for Al-Qaeda. This is the quote from him. Our position needs to be reiterated and needs to be very clear. The fact that the U.S. has administered the death and homicide of over 1 million civilians in Iraq, the fact that the United States is supporting the deaths of killing of thousands of Palestinians does not justify the killing of one U.S. civilian in New York City or Washington, D.C., and the deaths of 6,000 civilians in New York and Washington, D.C. does not justify the death of one civilian in Afghanistan.
That doesn't sound like a terrorist. That sounds like a guy who's making sense.
No shit. That's why I'm kind of afraid to be in this line of work myself.
Yeah, it's a creepy line of work when they can just label you. You know, I mean, no one wants to look at it from this side that perhaps the United States has done some heinous things. There's a reason why these people want to do something to us. And there we go, us. To the citizens of this great nation.
But you know what? In a way, they're smarter than us because our reaction culturally is dehumanization. It's an implicit racism. For us, they're smarter. They want to. They actually come at it strategically. Like they want to change our behavior. They want us to stop bombing them. You know, and maybe they're not. I'm not endorsing terrorism, obviously, but if anything, their anger is much more aware and directed at the U.S. government.
Well, my whole position is that we're not innocent. You know, the United States government, whatever's over there, we're not innocent. It's that simple. So if we're not innocent, we have to take some sort of responsibility, or they have to take some sort of responsibility for the repercussions. If you're doing something that's fucked up and the people are dying, you got to know that you've done something terrible and you need to make amends. You know, you need to fix this whole thing. Like, you can't just get out of there now. You can't just get out of there and leave it behind, some fucking crazy civil war.
Well, that's the denial that America is in. And if I may, the next part of my story was coming back from Iraq, getting in trouble with this, trying to go back to get a Purple Heart. And when I got out of the Marines, I had been, as a sergeant who spoke Arabic with civil affairs experience, pissed off because I was managing a barracks and mowing lawns for most of a year. And I got out and I was disgruntled. It was like the day after I got a medal for heroism under fire and all the other crap that I got, cited for when I was in Fallujah that took 3 years to process. They busted me down from sergeant to corporal and I got out. That was my, the expiration of my contract.
Why did they do that?
From bringing the pistol back. Because it got through the system and got back to NCIS and yada, yada, yada. So I got in trouble for that.
So you never got that pistol back?
No. Damn. I know. But I did get to fire it a couple times.
Saddam Hussein's pistol.
Well, an official gift from the regime or something like that. But it was a cool historical piece. I got plenty of guns now. But this is an important thing about who is going to be on the front lines of this revolution right now that we're facing. Who is going to help us evolve past this status paradigm? Who is going to help us push past and see past the collapse of government? Because it's not going to be the people that the system treats well. And this whole thing is set up. You have the propagandizing class. You have the dependent class. You have the enforcement class and the law enforcement and the military. And you have people that are bought into the system, at a whole variety of levels. In a way, that's how they get away with it. Is they make everybody think that they're benefiting from it, and they have people, and it's like if capitalism, a true free market, a natural society where people have property rights is like a rough fabric. When you introduce the Federal Reserve and you have this thing that can create money out of thin air, it's like pulling it up and creating an unnatural spike and concentration of wealth and power. And we have this illusion of capitalism, like we can own property and we can trade. But it's this whole spike where everybody is, kind of picked up along with it in this illusion of being able to print money that's worth something. And that's how they manipulate the economy, and that's how people really get screwed. But the first people that are going to be questioning the system aren't going to be the guy that was student body president or captain of the football squad or the cheerleading team. It's going to be the miscreants and the punks and the misfits and the people that were, in a sense, challenging authority naturally because they had something in for it or they had something in their life. And the thing is, right now, it's about being a victim of government. So how many people do you know that got arrested, and when they got arrested, they turned political, or they started paying attention because then it hits home and they stop trusting government, and that's a really important thing. And the rest of us have to stop turning a blind eye. And I say the rest of us, again, maybe a bad collectivizing term, but the people that are asleep to this need to stop turning a blind eye and saying, well, I got mine, I'm cool, I got my paycheck, because somebody else is getting fucked. And the thing is that's so exciting is that enough people have been fucked now that it's coming to a critical mass. where people are questioning the government, people are waking up, people are saying, we don't need this thing anymore. We are standing up to the bully. And that's what's so fun about, what I do now in civil disobedience. Speaking of which, did you get my invitation to the civil disobedience beach party yesterday? Okay. Well, we had a really exciting event. And
what is a civil disobedience beach party? That sounds like a beach party.
We went to the beach. Yeah, I know in a sense, but oh man. No, it's where you deliberately go and break as many laws non-violently as you possibly can. And so we dug holes deeper than 18 inches, and we smoked pot without a license, and we threw footballs and frisbees. And
you're not allowed to throw footballs and frisbees?
Not at the Santa Monica Pier.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Really?
Yeah.
No frisbees?
Yeah, but see, you know what? What's your normal reaction to that? Oh, fuck it. What's another law? And you walk away. And
It's so stupid.
So, people are, and this is really petty.
Well, the real problem is cunty kids that throw those fucking frisbees too hard and they hit babies. That's the problem.
So the answer is to have police go and try to chase them down and issue them $1,000 tickets?
No, the answer is you got to go back in time to when their parents conceived them and then work with the parents, try to straighten out with their emotional bullshit. It's going to make them a shitty parent so that they can deliver a kid that's better functioning in society.
Okay, so
but when that kid is all fucked up, you got to deal with them. Somebody made a fucked up kid, let that fucked up kid get loose, and he's whipping a frisbee around near your 2-year-old baby.
Okay, but this is why things are getting better. This is the sign, because people want to be better parents. And all, like pathological behavior, why do people grow up to be violent criminals?
Right.
It's usually because they were abused as children in some way.
You're right, yeah.
It's or emotional abuse or physical abuse, but people aren't naturally violent. People are the natural state is to want to cooperate with fellow human beings. At least that's what we're evolving towards. And so think about it, like right now, compared to the state of nature 200,000 years ago, everybody had to work 16 hours a day hunting and gathering to survive, right? And now the average American can work from when they're 22 to 65, 8 hours a day with weekends and vacation time, and support a whole family for their lifetime on that. And if anything, it would be a lot less than that without the central banking system that we have today, without the systems of government exploitation robbing that exponential growth, or what should be exponential growth in quality of life. And it's still exponential, but not nearly as much as it should be. And what we're coming to, like, how are you going to convince people that you need a welfare state when you can work for 1 year and save enough money to live at the quality of life that we enjoy today for the rest of your life? That's and to me, that's what makes it such an exciting time to be alive. And you just look at how much less violence there is. And this is a really beautiful thing. You can look at government and be pissed off all you want. And this is where I've come to now as a Zen libertarian, is being able to see this bigger picture, and that the actual average amount of violence that an individual is subject to is at an all-time historic low for as long as we've been able to track it. That's part of that evolution. This is the natural development of life from single-celled organisms, from little molecules bouncing around in the primordial soup together. The essence of life is cooperation, is pooling of resources, of coming together, of energy coming into harmony. And that's what we're going through. And we're seeing like this process of 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, and we're in the middle of a big step backwards right now that really is centered around the institutionalization of the Federal Reserve and the modern systems of government going back about 100 years. And within that time, we've had steps forwards, gay rights movement, the women's rights movement, the civil rights movement, not in how they were institutionalized in government, but what they represented for society were steps forward. But we're coming to this major step forward now when we get past this entire paradigm of statism. And it's a beautiful thing to see that as we're able to raise our children nonviolently, as we're able to be better parents, because we have better prosperity and better just the leisure time, the ability to do things that the cavemen couldn't do, and raise children that are emotionally well balanced and don't engage in this pathological behavior that is government.
I agree that it seems that if you measure our time on Earth in comparison to the Greeks or the Romans or anybody who lived in any sort of an ancient civilization, no one's ever had it as good as we have it. As far as the less violence, the more health, the more pleasure. It's like the people being nice to each other, people understanding the impact of being nice to each other, actually understanding what that's all about now. That's never happened before. The way it's happening now.
Well, Americans are fat because we're like citizens of the empire.
Yeah, but if you look at the rest of the world, though, if you look at it, especially the impact on some of the things that are necessary in order to produce the amount of power that's necessary to run this crazy sort of peaceful, easygoing country that we think of as America, where you drive around, there's really not that much crime. You drive around, there's really not that much violence. Well, how are you? Were you driving around on gas? Where's that gas coming from, dude? That gas is coming from a place that's getting bombed from the sky with missiles,
and that's where we pay
apartment
the inflation
buildings
tax.
are blowing up. I mean, people are dying left and right. So is it possible to have all that shit without all the bad shit? Is it even possible to have in this day and age, or is this like an overclocked society? Is the only way to have a society like America possible is if they're at the very top of the food chain doing all sorts of fucked up unethical shit? Or is it possible to have the control over the resources that we have and still be ethical? Is it possible to run a society like this and not do anything fucked up?
I think even the way that you're asking that question is reinforcing the
idea of a country
paradigm, right?
And you think that's going to eventually completely go away?
Well, no, yes, but it represents the framework from which you're coming from. This represents that status paradigm of how do we have an identity, or how do we have a society when you're using government in a way that doesn't clearly define it, and when you really break it down, the only clear way to define government is a group of people with an arbitrary, geographically based monopoly on the initiation of force. That's what sets them apart. Like, if I go in and say, put a gun to your head and say, give me your wallet, I can't, that's wrong.
Or you can't be a gang member and go to war with another gang and say, look, these guys aren't murderers. They're in my army. I made them go to war with the bad gang.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, generally police, and it's what's sick is that we have to extricate. We have to pull out these legitimate functions of government in order to get rid of it. Like, it's really tricky with the police state, and it's an issue I'm really passionate about. One of the things that I'm kind of put me on the map was the Jefferson Dance Party when I got picked up and body slammed by a police officer at the Jefferson Memorial for dancing in public. And
what happened?
That's my video that's got over 1 million views.
What happened?
Police state.
Pull that shit up, Brian. Where's Brian?
He's out of here. You can't get it from the sound anyways. But
Brian just vanished.
Police officers do serve a legitimate function. The problem is that they've got a government monopoly on it. They provide for the public safety, but private security is obviously much better. And when you have this monopoly power, they're not accountable to the people. There's always that detachment. And it's the idea of government. You say, do we need government for society? Government is antithetical to society. If society is defined as how people come up with an identity and come together peacefully and cooperatively and engage in commerce and do productive things, then it's like, how do you? It's like saying, how do you live healthy with a giant leech on your back? Is that essential? And it's like, no.
Does government have to be a leech? That's the question. Does government have to be that? Is it possible to have a government where it's just, we have a set of values that we put in place in order to help society run better, and we all take place in it, and we call that government.
It could be not a leech, but it can never by definition be moral, and will always then give someone an unjust power that is corrupting.
I gotta see this video, man. I'm pissed that Brian is.
Where's Brian? You want me to vamp?
No, don't worry. Brian!
All right. This is Adam Kokesh taking over the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Thank you very much. Dustin is here. My old co-producer from the radio show.
Brian is ridiculous. I'm going to send him a text message. Tell him to get back in here. So explain to me what happened to you. They picked you up and body slammed you?
Well,
No, dude, he wants to see a video, man.
I don't want to see it. No, so it's a bit of a story because it goes back like 3 or 4 years ago. There was a group of 18 people that were just a bunch of libertarian activists that liked Thomas Jefferson. And so they wanted to go dance because he was the dancing president. I didn't find out about this until after the incident. My Facebook wall got just covered with all these Jefferson quotes about how he liked to dance and bust out the fiddle at the White House and stuff like that. But they went and danced at midnight on Thomas Jefferson's birthday just as a little like flash mob thing, right? And the security guards came and tried to like shoo them out of the memorial, and one of them was dancing out and got arrested. And they were like, what the fuck? And so they tried to fight it in court, and like 3 years later, the judge said, you know, like, 'cause if the judge had said on the grounds of its improper usage or it's a safety threat or it's like, you know, there was a way that they could have legitimately said there's no dancing, but it's kind of a ridiculous thing to say. Anywhere that you're illegally allowed to be, you don't have control over your body, or if you move it in a certain way, like that's going to be illegal, you know? So it's kind of absurd on its premise, like most of the things of government, when you really go down to the actual core premise of what it means to be, when you say there should be a law for this or it should be illegal for that. But we decided to go back because the judge said it was not appropriately reverent enough.
Reverent?
Yes. Wow. You had to be reverent of Thomas Jefferson. This is, you know, a public memorial where you've got kids spilling drinks and playing with toys and cars and shit like all over the place, and you can't dance.
What's the video?
If you go to youtube.com/Adam Kokesh and then search for most viewed.
How do you spell Adam?
Kokesh.
K. What was it?
Kokesh.
Yeah. It's kind of a long video. It's 10 minutes. But so we went back and we decided we were going to start dancing. The cops were waiting for us. So they said, "Who's in charge here?" And we all pointed to Thomas Jefferson and this, you know, the giant 30-foot statue of him. And this couple that was there just started dancing, and they bumped into one of the cops, and the cop was like pointing to his goons, you go arrest them. And they're swaying, like hugging, like barely dancing.
Oh God!
And so the rest of us were like, "Well, fuck that, it's on." And I was listening to "You Can Do It" by Ice Cube, and you could barely call what I was doing dancing. But by the end of this, they picked me. The cop picked me up and body slammed me because I was resisting with my hands out like this, had my hands out in front of me, like, you know, I'm not violent. And he picked me up and body slammed me, and then kneed me in the ribs and choked me on the ground there. Jesus. And the crazy part is, you know, I was in the Marines. I was on the Marine Corps rugby team. You know, I'm training for MMA right now. But if I didn't know how to fall, like I would have fractured my skull. Like if I had gone limp and flipped back, it's on a marble floor, you know, I would have cracked my skull open. But
yeah, you could have died.
I slapped the ground and I was okay.
Videos.
We did. It's the one top in the middle there. You can watch the whole thing unfold.
Is there somebody that's leading y'all here, or y'all just?
This guy body slammed you?
This is it's this little chubby guy with probably a really small penis.
Give you your warnings.
But
come out here and you demonstrate.
that's the people that are authorized to use violence by government. That's the police state for you.
He's got a sweet bike helmet.
Does everybody understand? Unless you live more than 50 miles away from the District of Columbia, you can spend the night.
So he comes up and he's threatening to arrest us without telling us that there's any law that we would be violating.
Sir, that's illegal. What would we be charged with?
You are too far away from the city to allow citation to reappear. Therefore,
and he just avoids the question.
Hold you.
What he's asking is a violation.
You'll find out.
You'll find out.
Sir.
What am I being arrested for? You'll find out.
He's incompetent.
Yeah.
We're not demonstrating.
If you're dancing in here, we're demonstrating this form. What is dancing?
Then we try to get a legal definition of dancing.
What if you're out of time and you're making movements with your body?
Whoa,
that's still dancing.
hey.
Wow. What if you're out of time and you're making movements with your bodies? That's still dancing. Yeah.
So look at this. Now he calls over his goons.
Have, free expression or free speech. And
See, look at that. Look at the little finger
Oh,
point.
come on. Stop dancing. Oh my God, this is crazy.
This is nothing, man. This is just the beginning of this.
You didn't even give me a warning.
Oh my, these cops are arresting her for dancing.
For standing and swaying. You know, it's funny because this happened in New York. So there's me, sort of dancing.
You didn't even give me a warning. What is your problem, man?
This is crazy.
You didn't even give me a warning.
So this is what we do now, regular civil disobedience, where we just risk arrest and stand up to the bully that is government. You know, we had the cursing in Middleborough, Massachusetts last week.
Wow, this is crazy.
Where they made it illegal to curse. Did you hear that story? I was in Middleborough, Massachusetts.
Yes, I
we went
did
back
hear.
and had a protest and said we're just free fucking speech demonstration.
You hate America, don't you? You hate free
So So it wouldn't be complete with a little stare down with the cops there. And I really didn't think I was going to get arrested. Actually, I thought I was going to dance away.
What is this dude saying? You hate America, you hate freedom. You saying that to the cop?
Yep. So this is where it starts to get ugly.
Watch my arm! Watch my arm! Watch my arm! Don't, I got a broken shoulder. I've got a bad shoulder. Put your hands behind your back.
So he's like reaching out and
Stop resisting.
punching him in the chest.
Stop resisting. This is America. This is America when you dance in the public place. When you dance.
So this is the crazy part here.
Get on your knees right now. Sir, this is your last warning. Sir, this is your last warning.
See, there he knees me in the ribs, and you see it go in like.
Yeah, but isn't resisting arrest still resisting arrest? I mean, even though it is as stupid as it is of what the charge is, and I mean, when police officers,
that's the point, is to show the violence of it.
There's no justification for that. The whole thing is ridiculous. Those cops, they wanted to maintain this sense of control.
Yeah,
bullshit sense of control and authority. And they didn't recognize something that was absolutely not a threat, just a bunch of peaceful people. Oh, they're hugging, and you got to arrest them for hugging and moving their bodies. There's no justification for this. This is nonsense. You guys weren't causing problems or hassling people. I mean, if you look in the context of this video, this is insane. I don't know how these guys...
You cannot shut me up. That's not the way this works. You cannot shut anyone up. You cannot stop them from dancing. You cannot stop them from kissing. You cannot stop them from doing things that come natural to people.
Then they kick the media out. Like, how perfect is this as a microcosm of what government is?
Who's got this camera? Who's filming this?
This is actually Dustin, the guy that's in the room right now. This was when I had my TV show in D.C.
What is he filming this with?
I don't know. Dustin, you want to step in here? What are you filming with?
I can't hear you.
Just a little camera, I think he said.
There's a small handheld camera?
Yeah, it was a Canon from back in the day.
Nobody told you to stop filming?
It was funny because they kick out the mainstream guy before they see me. I was kind of just dancing along, kind of moving in ways.
Oh, so there's a couple other guys that were filming this as well.
I was the last to get kicked out.
Yeah,
wow.
what was really ironic is they kicked out, what Dustin said, they kicked out the guy from Fox. There was a local Fox network, I think, that was covering it that day. They kicked him out. They kicked out the guy with the big camera. And then Dustin, because, we were shoestring television.
What that right there was just idiots with power. That's all that was. Incompetent fools. That's a foolish person.
But isn't that a fun way to wake people up? To show people that?
He's a pussy. This is what I always say about any laws, any people getting arrested. I use what I call the Clint Eastwood method. Could you imagine Clint Eastwood in a movie holding a gun, arresting someone for that? If not, then it's a stupid law. Because if you're not stealing or hurting someone or robbing someone.
Well, then what's a smart law, Joe?
A smart law is something that's set in place to make sure that people don't fuck 5-year-olds.
Yeah, common sense
maybe
law.
that should be a law.
So maybe the only law that we should have are the ones that are based on respecting each other instead of having a central authority deciding what even the standards of society are going to be.
Do you think that with the internet and what's happening now with the integration of society and technology, that we're sort of slowly but surely getting closer to each other even than is comfortable, and it's going to get to a certain point in time where there's not going to be a whole lot of privacy in this world.
Yeah, no, but I think
there's any.
Well,
but
right
maybe
now
that'll be. I mean, it's scary for us because we value privacy, but it might ultimately be for the best.
I think it's always for the best. I have faith in technology because it's empowering, but it's kind of scary right now to see that.
But it's empowering to itself. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have a moral idea. We have this idea that it's only for good until AI comes live. When artificial intelligence actually becomes sentient, there's a lot of scientists, very intelligent people that have studied this shit their whole life. That guy in that movie, the Singularity movie, was Kurt Wells' documentary? What is it called? Transcendent man.
Yeah,
Transcendent man. There's a guy in England who's terrified of what he calls artilects, artificial intellects. He's terrified of the possibility of them actually getting to a point technologically where they can think for themselves and shut things off and create new ones and create new artificial intelligence that's more powerful and with more potential than they have. Like, this is all real. Very, very possible. You can't say no. Like, this is 100% possible.
It's scary. No, it's not.
So technology is not always
inevitable.
Yeah, but it's not always good for this. I mean, it's good. It is what the universe is, which is ever complex. Just complexification on top of complexification keeps moving in that direction. It doesn't stop. You know, stars explode and they eventually become fucking human beings. I mean, all of this is coming from this idea that things get more and more complex and more crazy. But it might not necessarily be good for humans. Technology might be terrible for humans. We might just be the rats that build the raft. Well, might just be the monkeys that start the computer life form. They start the artificial ones and zero life form. And we say it's not real, but it becomes real when you make it real. If artificial intelligence actually becomes sentient, then it is real. That's a real life form. And we just don't think of it and respect it like we would in alien life form, because we think of it as something that we have control over because we just shut the power off. We just turn the switches on. For now, that's all true.
At some point that goes away.
But if you give the computer program that you create the initiative to act on its own, and it's much more intelligent than you are, that things might get crazy.
Oh, no, they are going to get crazy.
That's not good. It's not good for us.
Well,
I don't think that's going to be good for all the dumb fucks that
but
run through
then
this
you're
world.
like the person with the rotary telephone saying, "Oh, those cell phones, they're crazy. They're bad for you."
Well, yes, to a certain extent. You know, I mean, if you talk to people that live in the mountains, they still stand by that shit. You're fucking yourself up with all those cell phone signals, and you don't need to check your email every 5 minutes. But, you know, when we might be is just a step along the way. I mean, we surely are, right? I mean, we look at evolution. We look at these new fossils they just discovered today, where there was or it was just a news release today about some hominoid that was a distant relative of ours that was upright and walking 6 million years ago. This is a pretty radical discovery. They're figuring this out. Just think of that. 6 million years ago, there was some fucking monkey thing. And then 6 million years later, boom, you and I are sitting in front of giant laptops, and ones and zeros are flying around through these pipes and wires and shit under the ocean. And whoa!
It's getting faster.
Yeah.
It's always getting faster and faster and faster. And that's
crazy.
You know what? That's what tempts me to be scared.
You should be scared.
Is that we're going to get to this point. The technological singularity coming in 20 years. And this is the implication of that when we have a computer that's smarter than the human brain. And in a sense, that's like an arbitrary benchmark.
Right.
You know, a more significant benchmark that in a way is not a benchmark, because as soon as we have, you know, the wheel, we're able to use that to get more technology. You know, every innovation builds on, you know, the previous innovations. But in a sense, we get to the point where we have computers that we tell, design the next smarter computer, design the next smarter computer chip. And we're already kind of at that point. And then it takes off, this exponential curve. Next thing you know, we're telling computers how to solve instructing these things to solve all our problems.
And they're going to tell us, get your shit together, bitch.
But see, you know, and what I'm scared of is that, like, right now we see in the news, they have this laser that can hit your skin and do a molecular analysis from, 100 feet away. And the TSA is going to have this and be able to tell what you had for breakfast that morning.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But it scares me to see that that's in the government's hands. But at the same time, I'm so confident, you know, and like I said, it is going to get scary. And at some point, every surface surrounding us is going to be a touch screen, and virtual reality merges with reality. And then who knows? But now we're going to have to jump ahead and start talking about my last DMT experience, because it relates to that. But what we're coming to is there's going to be a point where basically everybody gets a therapy robot. That's my prediction. And in a way, you know what? And I thought about this. Every single trend that I look at, like way into the future, I go, wait a second, how is it already happening now? And in a sense, think about how much therapy and psychological benefit people get from the internet. The fact that they can look shit up and go, oh, I have issues because of this, or they're able to find communities of people that work through their issues in a way.
Or it's able to feed your issues. More likely, you're beaten off and
I kind of
checking
think that.
KKK websites.
Yeah. I can't get off the internet. I fucking sleep with a laptop in my bed. That's
the
not
great
supposed to happen.
percentage of what's being done on the internet is not educational in one way or another. I mean, the potential for education exists.
Okay, but compare what's
the
happening
great
for
majority.
education with the internet compared to what happened before
no question,
the internet.
everything's accelerating. Whether it's entertainment or education, kids are smarter today. They have more access to information today. Less viable to be sucked in by propaganda. It's a different time. We live in a time that's just as unprecedented. We're in the Wild West. We're in the Wild West of technology. It's a strange time.
When we look back in human history, we're going to see this as the point at which we hit the vertical asymptote. You know, that's what the next 20, 30 years, it's going to be that curve and the exponential growth curve that is the human experience.
I call it the roaring 20s of the technological age. That's what I think we're in. I think we're in the roaring 20s of the technological age. Because I think that right now we still don't really have a handle on what this fucking thing can actually do. You know, and still there's all clunky things like Windows runtime errors and, you know, hundreds of thousands of computer viruses. But what's going on, man? Brian has to talk to the AC guy before he leaves. Okay, see ya.
I'm glad I dressed for the warm weather.
Yeah, we have some funky air conditioning issues here at the Ice House that we're trying to work out. It's funny that you call it the Ice House. It's hot as fuck in here.
I went through that bad joke routine in my head on the way over here.
Yeah, today's much better than yesterday, though. Yesterday was pretty brutal. I don't know how people do Vegas, man. I don't think I could do 120 degrees. You step outside, it's like getting hit in the face with a hairdryer. It's like,
well, I was in Fallujah for 7 months, man.
What's that like?
You don't notice over 115. You just sort of like,
really?
And it's the same way for like with me for weed. You know, you get so high and then kind of plateau. It's like above about 115 degrees Fahrenheit, the human body in the desert can't really tell the difference. There are times when you inhale fire, you know, from a hot breeze, but really it's just you're just hot.
Were you over there when
out.
Pat Tillman was killed?
He was in Afghanistan.
Yeah, he was in Afghanistan.
Fallujah,
but did you hear the news when you were over there?
You know what? Because I remember that unfolding. I was there in 2004. You want me to look it up? Because I wasn't.
Do you remember what you felt like when you heard like all the shit that went down when they tried to say it was he was killed in action? It was really friendly fire.
Well, see, back then, I was asleep. You know, I was one of the sheeple. Really, I wasn't politically attuned. So when I heard the story and was like, I acknowledged it, but I wasn't really.
I find that hard to believe. You're a very articulate guy. I mean, even if you're obsessed with all this information, there's no way that you would be a stupid person when you're young.
It's not that I was stupid. It's just that I was no.
You wanted to believe in it,
and you know what?
You're susceptible.
We should step back maybe for a minute and talk about this podcast, because there are a lot of people, and I want to get a shout out to Michael Salvi for making it possible for me to come out here, because there are a lot of people like him in my audience that really cared about me getting to have a conversation with you, and there are in a way, I really look up to you, and I feel like as much as my audience wants you to benefit from hearing my perspective right now and talk about, the way that, what we refer to ourselves as awake to in our understanding of government society. I want to, you're 14 years ahead of me, but you're like, I want to learn something from you. I almost want to be interviewing you.
Well, I think we all we're learning from each other. I mean, you saying that you look up to me is always funny to me when people say things like that, because I think the reality of it is we all inspire each other, and it's great when we run into someone who we really feel like is on the right path. Like, fuck, man, you're out there doing it, and we benefit from each other. All of us do, I mean, that's a good thing about the internet. That's a great thing about the internet. The internet can connect people like you and I, where in past years it would be so impossible. We exchange a couple series of tweets. We don't even talk to each other face to face until we're actually sitting down. I mean, that's a crazy. We're in a crazy world. So in that sense, it does amazing things. But we are all. Everybody has a part in this thing. It's one of the things I was going to say earlier when you were when you were talking about people and the human mind and the power of a computer. The crazy thing about people is not just the power of the human mind. It's the fact that we can figure out how to work together. Because the only way a computer gets made is if somebody figures out how to make all the different parts of it and figure out how to integrate them together and make it work together. That's a lot of motherfuckers. That's not one dude figuring out how to code algorithms and figuring out how to send packets through the internet. No, this is like a bunch of people. Everyone has a specific task, and guys like you have a task. Guys like me have a task. We all have, and that task is, what are you drawn towards? And even if it's fucking playing basketball, if that's what you love to do, and if you're fucking thinking about basketball all the time, that's your thing, man. It's not a bad thing. Stand-up comedy is a ridiculous pursuit. You're just making people laugh. It's not a bad thing.
You enlighten people in your comedy.
Well,
that's one of the things that sets you apart.
It's not enlighten. I tell them a shit that I heard.
You share a valuable and empowering perspective.
I'm happy that that's the case. For me,
but you know that's true. You know,
well, and I appreciate it. I appreciate that's the case. For
me,
even
your masturbation jokes. As in today's repressed age, are empowering to people that are afraid to talk about those things.
Well, I think that the lessons and the battles that you go through in your life, where you figure out what's stupid and what's empowering, what's good and what's bad. For you not to have a perspective when you get to be a certain age, for you to hit 44 years old and not have some shit figured out that you didn't have when you were 25, that's ridiculous. But for me, it's like, whenever if someone would say they look up to me, or hey man, you changed my life, I would say, like, I'm like an antenna, okay? I'm just an antenna for all the shit that's out there in this crazy fucking weird world. So when I repeat shit back, or when I analyze and add a bunch of shit together that I've read that other people have figured out, someone saying they look up to that is a very weird thing to hear, because it's just, I'm just doing stuff, I'm just doing comedy or doing podcasts. It's not it doesn't ever seem like anything important. But when you get the overwhelming amount of response that this podcast gets on Twitter and whatever, anything on the internet, my message board, it can fuck with your head. It gets kind of trippy. You feel like you have this weird obligation, and enough people come up to you and say, hey man, you changed my life. You start going, man, maybe I should start a fucking cult. Maybe I should get a big ass. Maybe that's my move, man. Big ass plot of land in Brazil somewhere. Just tell everybody, man, fuck this country. Let's move, man. We could run shit nice down there.
So the air conditioner.
The weather's beautiful.
The air conditioner outside is being worked on. It should be done in like 30 minutes, so they're going to turn it off for 30 minutes. But when I walked out, I was like, "So how long is it going to take?" And this is what I saw. Look at watch this. See right here. He's got marijuana. He's just like hanging out with marijuana plants.
Dude, don't put that on the internet.
That's the guy that's working on the AC.
You told him you're going to put that on the internet?
Yeah.
Please. By the way, we should tell the federales he is a licensed patient here in California. What do you think of that, man? That's a creepy thing. When we had Tommy Chong on, we was talking about that. We said it was basically a money grab. These DEA agents that are raiding these California dispensaries, even though under California state law, medical marijuana is legal. They're allowed to sell it. They're allowed to have it.
Dude, just for you today, I went and I got my license from Dr. Lee F. Winkler, MD.
Shouldn't say the doctor's name, man.
That's Henry's brother.
These doctors are all undercover.
No,
man.
he's cool. That's the thing. It's all legit now.
Oh, really?
But you know what? And I was afraid that what we were going to see was this, and it is a ridiculous cottage industry of writing medical marijuana prescriptions.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, it's a shame that this is a diversion of legitimate medical care resources. And to a certain extent it is. But he was the nicest old dude who he came out of retirement because he wanted to help patients.
All day.
He's just chilling. And he does get to help patients occasionally, as he said. But, because there's a lot of people that just come in for their paperwork. He's just writing scripts all day. But, it's kind of funny to think about that.
There's a lot of good karma in that, man. To be a doctor and do that, there's a lot of good karma.
Yeah, because you're turning the guns of government away from people. You're covering for people. And it's funny, in Colorado, though, where it's not as well established, or it hasn't been subjected to market forces for as long, the doctors still charge $200. But
my doctor charges more than that.
It's $35. What?
Yeah.
To write a referral?
Oh, it's
I don't
crazy.
want to say my doctor's name because I don't want anybody to get mad at him.
This guy's name is on the outside of the building.
My doctor
I'm not revealing any secrets
went to
here.
jail for it, and he did time. And I believe I don't know if he went to jail for it. I know he's arrested. I know he lost his license and then he had to get it back. It was during the beginning of the medical marijuana movement.
It's funny, back then you could lose your license for being involved in this. Now you have to use your license to get people pot.
Well, you know, I was turned on to the whole medical marijuana scene in much part by my friend Todd McCormick. Do you know Todd's story? My friend Todd is a really brilliant guy when it comes to any knowledge of cannabis or hemp and the history behind it and the suppression of it. I mean, had cancer himself, you know, like he needs marijuana, like literally, you know. And knowing him, I got to meet all sorts of people like that are inside the medical community, and most of them are doing a great service. You know, most of them are getting weed to people, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a few of them out there that are just
like the people in Northern California saying we should keep it illegal because they make more money that way.
Oh yeah,
that's
a real
that's
problem.
sick, isn't it? That just shows you how twisted government is. That somebody always benefits and wants to benefit from the violence.
It's just sad that anybody would ever want to profit on keeping something from everybody when they know it would be good for everybody. You know, the fact that you would vote against legalization while you're selling pot, it's like, man, that's not good for you.
That's
well, you're making a real creepy decision, man. That's gonna
if there's
fuck
a
with
hell,
your whole
you're
life.
burning.
Yeah, you would still be okay. Everybody thinks that like people are gonna grow their weed. I'm not gonna grow my weed. What I pay for weed right now is perfect. I'll keep paying that forever. Nobody has to lose any money. You don't have to be cunty about this whole thing. It's just completely ridiculous. How many people are gonna start a weed farm? Really? You know how many potheads that have that kind of ambition?
Well,
and if they want to, they should be able to, man. If you want to grow fucking tomatoes, you should be able to grow tomatoes. It should be legal.
Well, it's going to be like who would grow tobacco, you know, eventually that's what it's going to be. But I want to tell a little story about my experience this morning because I really had a blast. We went right across the street to LA Confidential.
Okay.
And it's one of the dispensaries in the Hollywood area.
It's
and
a good place.
Is it?
I want to give them a shout out. This was a really
that's not
awesome
very
experience.
confidential of you.
No, I guess not. And I'm gonna call out people by name because they were awesome.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they said that
You want shout outs?
They're not allowed to.
But you're setting a precedent. You will have to give shout outs all the time from now on.
Well, anybody who
these kind
sells
of
me
shout-outs.
weed. Well, you'll also see I have an ulterior motive here because the guy at the front, his name was Chef, and he looked like the character from South Park.
Who's dead right now?
Yeah.
Scientologist.
Sad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail my story with that tragedy.
No, I did. I derailed it.
I was just thinking about the cartoon. But anyways, he was you know, we weren't allowed to film in there, and they were very professional about it, and it was understandable, and they had a no cell phone policy, but they have a separate bar in the back. So at first I talked to this lovely young woman, Mickey, and this is my ulterior motive. I'm kind of hoping that by giving her a shout out, she'll actually call me.
Oh, are you trying to get laid on this show? That's ridiculous, sir. How dare you?
What?
That is such a mad struggle.
Oh, man.
Dude, don't ever do that. That's a terrible idea.
What
It's a terrible idea. You should never do that. If you can't get laid without mentioning a chick on the air or even get to her to hang out with you, how much interest could she possibly have? The last thing you want to do is give a shout out on the air. Because what if this doesn't work out? What if this doesn't work out and then like a year from now, your new wife, who you love more than anything, you're like, you got to listen to this tape. This is me on the Joe Rogan podcast. She's like, wow, this is so amazing. Who the fuck is Nikki? Who's Nikki? And you're like, well, Nikki, it didn't work out. She didn't. I gave her a shout out, but she didn't go out with me. You're like, ew. They'll lose hope in you, man.
I do want to give a shout out to Asa Akira and Tara Patrick. Though just
call you
for no reason, just for no reason, just giving shout outs to hot porn stars. How dare you, Brian?
But no, she was great, and this was the thing. The customer service was really incredible. It was my first time buying, but I had gone.
Yeah, they're all high, man. They're gonna be real friendly.
I went to the club in Breckenridge, in Colorado, the Breckenridge Cannabis Club, and for my YouTube channel, we did a recording with my friend Joey Weeks there with his new local currency, Mountain Hours. This was really exciting.
Yeah, so they explain that. They have their own currency?
Do you want to talk about monetary policy?
Well, let me finish
my story because this was really awesome.
Okay.
But Mickey was really helpful. I got, as a first-timer discount, a free hit of hash. And I had never had this before where they use the blowtorch over the little metal device into the front of the bong.
Right.
And they gave me 2 half hits that were, like, for me, huge rips of hash that knocked me on my ass. And they have this beautiful smoker's lounge in the back. Jake was there, very helpful. It was a wonderful experience. And I asked them if there was, if I could plug their business. And they said, well, we can't tell you what to say. But, I said, is there any message that you want to get out. And they said, get involved, you know. And I think that's really cool to see that most people aren't like those growers in Northern California. They want people to get involved in the issue. They want people working. And as Chef specifically said, you know, what this could be if it was fully legal.
Well, what you should classify what you're saying. The reason why the people in Northern California are into it is because they're selling it illegally. They want it to stay illegal.
Even the ones,
a lot of them,
right? But
the growers that are selling to dispensaries, they're not the ones who are voting against legality. A lot of it is the guys who've been doing it old school, you know, where it's just completely accepted up there. I mean, a big part of Humboldt County is their economy is based on marijuana. That is just a fact, and it's just been sort of accepted. But you know, now not so much. You know, now it's then they also have the problem with Mexican gangs that are running these forests. They set up these things in national forests and put up these farms.
Even the people here in the dispensaries have an interest in the law not changing. You know what I'm saying? Like they have it because
but they don't.
If it's fully
they
legalized,
don't. They just switch over to start selling it.
No, they have the same. No, they have the same bullshit financial interest in the current government restricted system that the people in Northern California do. And most people, my point is, most people are good people, and the people at LA Confidential are good people.
I think you're saying that you believe that you know how everyone who runs a dispensary thinks, and you know you can't. It's real hard to say that they.
No. I'm just saying my sense. No, because I do know other people that are involved in the industry.
But then it's not necessarily bad for them if it becomes legal. They just can open up a weed shop. They can switch from a medical dispensary / whatever you call it, collective.
No, because it'll be more commercialized. They'll be selling it at Walmart in the cigarette section. You know what I mean? Like, or at liquor stores. There will be specialty shops, but with more competition, you'll end up and more legalization. You'll end up with a greater consolidation in the market.
I don't necessarily think that's the case. If you're able to sell weed, why would it have to be so expensive that you'd have to go through Walmart with its 1,000 employees? Why you could sell weed? You could have like little local.
Oh no, you'd still have some, but there would be more competition.
I wonder how long it would take before marijuana is legalized, before like Coca-Cola got in business and started saying, "Listen, man, we need to, this is a big business. Let's get a piece of this."
It's really fun to apply the economics to this, and then you start to understand why the violence is happening in Mexico, because their business is being shredded and they're fighting over a territory that is rapidly shrinking.
Is that what it is?
That's because
marijuana or drugs basically are illegal in this country.
You can't get swag anymore in America. It's hard to find shitty Mexican trash compactor weed, like the shit I used to get in high school for $80 an ounce or whatever it was. You can't find that anymore. I had this epiphany. I was in Kansas City, where it's as illegal as it is anywhere else. I was there for a gig a couple of weeks ago trying to buy weed, and it was like, we were joking about it, but we were actually trying to find shitty weed to see if we could do it, and we couldn't. I
bet East Coast you can still find shitty weed.
You can still find it in Ohio. I got it a couple months ago.
Did you?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah, you can get it.
By the way,
it's.
But you see how much it's because when it's quasi legal in California and it's still gray market, for producers, it puts pressure on the market in places where it's harder to grow, and so people are able to get better weed from the surplus in California, and it's a better deal for them than to get the ship that's shipped up from Mexico.
What were you saying?
I did comedy at that LA Confidential. I used to do comedy shows there, and I did it with Joey Diaz.
Was that Kushmar? Is that Kushmar?
Bar?
No, LA Confidential, and they have like a stage in the back, or they used to. They stopped doing it though, I heard. But it was crazy because if you were on later in the show, like I was like second to last. I was right after Joey Diaz or something like that. Beginning of the show was awesome. Second part of the show, everyone was so fucked up from doing like hash and fucking weed and stuff like that. They're just sitting with drool coming out of their mouth, just looking at the movements you're doing with your hands.
Dude, we did a show. Who the fuck did I do Toronto with? It was either Sam Tripp. No, it wasn't Sam. It was either Ari Shafir or Tom Segura. I forget who it was, but we did it in this place in Toronto that's I don't want to say the name because it's probably illegal what they're doing, but they have a pot shop in the front where they sell bongs and shit. In the back, they have a hot box. This is a hot box. Like 100 people boxed in with no fucking ventilation whatsoever, and everybody's hitting bongs and vaporizers, and they're passing blunts. The air is so ridiculously unhealthy. I mean, it was the...
You mean healthy?
No, it's smoke. It's all smoke. It should be a little smoke, a little air, a little smoke. This was just nothing but smoke. to the point where the next day my throat was sore. I was like, wow, I might be fucked. I was worried that it was going to mess with my voice because it was just breathing nothing but smoke for like an hour. I've never been that high in my life. It was ridiculous. There was so much THC in the air and no, there was no air. It was all THC and carbon dioxide and bad breath, and people just blitzkrieged. I don't even remember what I talked about. I bet I did maybe 5 minutes of material in an hour on stage.
Yeah.
It was preposterous, which is going to be tonight. Tonight's preposterous. If you're around, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we got a 10 p.m. show at the Ice House Comedy Club right here in lovely downtown Pasadena, where they've spotted rabid bats. So if you have a turtleneck, put that shit on. You don't want to get jacked by a rabid bat.
Yeah, we just released 20 more tickets, so go to icehousecomedy.com.
20 rabid bats.
Put some bats in here.
But tonight, 10 p.m. show, we got Joey Diaz is in this one.
No.
Ari Shafir, Dom Herrera, Greg Fitzsimmons, Brian Redband, Aiko Tanaka.
Ryan Mervis, and our host is always Tony Hinchcliffe.
Who's hilarious. And me. You dirty bitches. So that's tonight, 10 o'clock show. And, of course, we'll also have the Ice House Chronicles that go on at the same time. And that is only available on the iTunes Death Squad label. Adam Kokesh.
And for an Ice House, this is not the coldest place yet.
Yeah, we already made those jokes, dude. You weren't in the room.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you were dealing with shit.
That's what you get.
Hacky material.
Well, it's just called parallel thinking, son. Don't be so hard on yourself. So, how long you been down here for?
Just for this, it kind of worked out. I'm really glad that it worked out. But I was in Colorado for the Mountain Hours event, and then I was able to just come here. But we got distracted by weed, man. We were actually.
Well, you were going to tell me about I want to hear the currency thing that you were telling me before the show about they have their own currency.
Well, let's come back to that because we were talking about the perspective, and how I used to be asleep,
right,
and how so many in my audience are excited to have me appear on your podcast and to be able to share this perspective with you, because it's about sharing the joy of standing up to government, of standing up to the bully, of actually seeing yourself as part of this process of humanity evolving. And they know that you share a lot of the premises of this, of distrust for authority, of your good understanding of what government is and the exploitation behind it. But what we're doing is actually working to change the paradigm and get people more involved. We're not so much a political movement as an anti-political movement, and that we understand that politics is pathological behavior when you're advocating for more government control, when you're saying that we need government to do this, and we are helping humanity by spreading this message that it is a universal moral message of that, don't hit, don't steal, not unless you have a badge or a gun of the government. Government is an opinion with a gun, and getting people to see that and move past that. And as activists, and it's funny, you talked about what it's like being a celebrity for yourself, and you're a legitimate celebrity, and then there's political celebrity, and then there's me, minor political celebrity, and I still get some of the same experience of people having a relationship with me before you meet them, and you know how that is. Mm-hmm. And what you have with your presence, your ability to get people to get more involved, to share this perspective, to enjoy standing up to the man, that people in your position can use your presence to better affect this change and be a part of this. And I wanted to open the podcast by saying I'm from the revolution and I'm here to recruit you.
I don't know how to respond to that last creepy part, but
you guys need to work out together.
Oh, man.
Brian just wants both of us to leave the room right now. We're making him uncomfortable. There's too much bromance up in this motherfucker.
Oh, did we cross that line?
No, it's all right, man.
Maybe we gotta smoke another joint.
Yeah, you know what, man? That's
finish this one.
It's very cool for you to. Yeah, we can finish that joint. Where'd we put that thing? It's on the
ashtray.
It's in the
I got it.
Yeah.
Adam can be your new fleshlight.
Oh,
Brian, that was so stupid. That was so stupid that's one of those things where you remember when you did that show the other day and you're like, man, people that didn't know who I was, they hated me. Yeah, that's how a normal person would react to you. It's like people didn't understand for years. I had to tell people that he kind of grows on you. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
It takes a while for your sense of humor to make sense, but even that you should be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
Even you should be embarrassed about that last one.
Whatever. I think just imagine it would be funny.
I don't think so. I don't think it's funny at all.
Olive Garden.
Here you go.
You got issues, kid. You got issues. You're not even high right now.
Yeah, I am. I've been smoking the whole time.
In the back, that's what you do. You leave. Well, you're not. I'm gonna make it so you're not allowed to talk if you get over a certain high. We need to get a breathalyzer test for you.
They should have that, right? They don't have that. Oh, watch out. Well, they don't have weed breathalyzers, do they? Like that tells you how much you've smoked, like
how fucked up you are.
Yeah.
No, well, I don't think it's relative. You know, it's so hard to figure out. It's like what is for you. I mean, it's the same blood level, right? It's just your tolerance. Your tolerance doesn't decrease it in your body. So it's like you could have a little bit of pot in a person who's a fucking rookie, and they're going to be blasted. But if you carry that same amount of pot in you, you'll be fine. So is there
THC levels or something?
Right, but I'm saying THC is something that your body gets comfortable with.
Yeah,
but it could be like a body
alcohol
fat
too.
Yeah,
This is why there should be an objective measurement of impairment, not a chemical.
Yeah, with
measurement.
alcohol, there's
it should be a body fat like thing, like where they do your body fat.
It can't be that. It should be an impairment thing. You know,
I want it to be body fat. Come on.
I got pulled over once and I wasn't drunk. They thought I was, and I was not. I just dropped my cell phone in between my legs, and I reached in and I changed lanes for a second, but it was nobody near me, but a cop behind me. So I did all their shit, man. I have good balance, man. I got no problem. I did all their shit. Touched my nose. I'm like, I'm not drunk at all. Like, I just want you to know. So I did all that shit, and then they asked me to do a breathalyzer test, and I was like, really? Do I really have to do that? You know I'm not drunk. Like, this is silly. Like, I could do that, but... And then they got together and they huddled and they go, all right, we're going to let you go. I go, well, thank you. Thank you. Because I really wasn't drunk. I told the truth. I dropped my shit. But there was that weird moment where I was like, I wasn't guilty.
Are you going to fuck me just because you can?
Yeah, but I was like, is this going to be some weird thing where I'm going to wind up handcuffed in the back of a car because I'm making sense? You know, I just did all your shit. I just touched my nose. I'm perfect. I got good balance. Everything's there's no fuck ups. I'm following your pen. I'm fucking sober. All right. I mean, I think I might have had one beer like 3 hours ago. It was like ridiculously sober. But it was that weird thing. We're like, whoa, what if I blow pot? I mean, what is legal? I don't know what the fuck legal is.
One beer an hour or something like that?
You say that, but I don't know. I don't know what that is. Like, if you had a beer an hour ago, you are not fucking drunk. But will you test drunk?
No, it's that you can oxidize one drink per hour. So if you drink, the effect of that serving of alcohol is gone in an hour. If you have 3 drinks, it's 3 hours for it to be gone.
Is that 3 hours that you can be tested for, or 3 hours that you're impaired by?
I don't know. I don't drink anymore.
You don't drink at all?
No. I mean, like occasionally I'll have a glass of wine, but no, I quit drinking.
The cops that I ran into were cool, but they didn't have to be. You know, they could have been coming off with some terrible people, and I'm always very polite if anything happens. But it's that weird feeling like you could just lock me up right now. When you watch like the videos of those guys slamming you on the ground and arresting everybody for hugging. You just want to go in and you just want to arrest them. You want to just pull them out of society. You want to make them watch this. Make them sit in a theater with people. Sit on a stage, and I want you to sit, and behind you we're going to play that video. And then I want you to respond to all these people, the citizens, the taxpayers. They're going to have some fucking questions for you.
No shit.
They don't even have any vested interest in. They have no emotional connection to you or Adam. And guess what, fuckface? That's going to be a real uncomfortable feeling. Mm-hmm. And people need to understand that.
That's what that's called.
That's called internet video.
And that's called the free market.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
And the government is in front of that. When you say the government's going to run public safety, that's what you get.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, first of all, it should be much more. I always say it must be much more.
So you're on
honor.
board. I can sign you up for a tour with the Revolution.
But this podcast, and I like to play pool. I'm very busy doing comedy.
Well, no, you know that's the thing. It's.
I'm in the Revolution if I'm in.
No, you absolutely. You know what? You absolutely are. To be fair, because you are spreading important information and you are sharing a very important perspective that is about challenging authority. But you know, there are a lot of people
about challenging
who want you to
yourself.
take it to the next level.
It's challenging yourself as well. You know, what I've always said is that what's going to change this world is the youth. The people that are growing up right now, the people that are listening to this in their dorm rooms, the people that are listening to this in their high school bedroom where they're trying to keep it down because their dad would yell at them because he disagrees with all the shit we're talking about. Those are the people that are going to be involved and exposed to information that our generation and the previous generations, the Rumsfelds of the world, they never thought that this was going to be an option. They never thought that information should be so freely distributed between anyone, everywhere, all over the world. That was never in the plan. They thought they're going to be able to run shit business as usual. So what we're seeing now with world dominance and the craziness and the chaos of foreign policy, we're seeing like the last ripples of this emerging creature, this emerging new human technology symbiote. So right now it's pushing all the old things out. It's pushing all the old paradigms away, and it's going to dissolve standard forms of government and law enforcement. It's going to dissolve all that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to be a part of everybody. It's going to happen. That's where it's going. It's going to be technological, or it'll be the next stage of our physical evolution, if you're allowed to use that term when it comes to something that's technologically driven, because I think it may be. I mean, I think it may be something that someone creates, and they create an ability to enhance the human body. And if you look at what they're doing now with genetic engineering, and they're creating fucking bladders and petri dishes. They're working on developing artificial organs. They're working about. Eventually, they're going to look at once they figure out more and more and more about the human body, they're going to figure out parts of it. And they're going to go, we're just going to fix everything. Oh yeah. We're just going to turn this into. We're just going to remove all the greed. There's no more greed, and we're going to install community. This is the newest formula. We've developed a new brain.
It's simpler than that. Therapy, man. Therapy. Everybody just gets therapy, and government goes away.
Wow.
Really?
Do you think that therapy is good enough to work on everybody?
Well, eventually, as we have greater just prosperity in general, we have more leisure time to address these issues. We have more time that we're not spending scrambling to maintain our quality of life. Yeah, I think that's one of the next phases we're going to be coming to.
Well, if we got an issue, you have to start with the poorest part of the country, right? If you're allowed to use your resources here only, because otherwise we should start at the poorest part of the world. You know, that's what you really should be trying to balance this whole motherfucker out. I mean, that should be the ultimate goal, because it could be no real peace
until
there's some sort of a balance.
Invite every human being equitably into the market.
So then means anybody can move to America.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
No.
Dude, the highway is so fucking crowded right now. Do you know how crazy it would be if Indians could just come here on their own free will?
All right,
there's a billion of them.
You ready to apply Austrian economics in a way that's going to bake your noodle just a little bit when you talk about roads and the government monopoly and subsidization of the auto industry and the oil and gas industry?
Right.
If we didn't have the government doing that, and Eisenhower, who built the interstate highway system to serve the needs of the military, and like where I live in New Mexico, or where I'm from in New Mexico, where the Speaker of the State House can have an intersection moved to where he wants it to make his land worth more, and we didn't have all that happening, being forced into that, we're already at the point where we should have cars that are self-driving. But if it wasn't for government keeping all this research and development stifled with intellectual property, you know who killed the electric car? Have you seen that documentary? Yes, you imagine how much you see. There's just that one government policy of intellectual property, of so that, you invented a battery and you bought a piece of paper that describes it from someone, you can keep that from humanity. Do you see how much that holds us back? You see how much the exploitation by government keeps us from evolving into that state of greater technology? I mean, even like, why do we not have self-driving cars right now?
Because
why do we not have taco
This is
copters?
the roaring 20s of the technological era. This is the last
but
time when you're allowed to
holding
speed.
us back. No, it's still government is still holding us. No, incredible.
It's a little romantic to be able to hear the rumble of a V8 and step on the gas when you want to, instead of just being trapped in a fucking grid like your own little trolley car. Maybe you want to have a little passion.
Man, I can't
drive a fucking car.
I can't fucking believe there's so many goddamn liberal statists here in Southern California when all around them they are wasting hours and hours and hours of their day. Well, I guess it's because they sit there and they listen to propaganda NPR in their cars.
You mean in their cars?
Yeah, but they're sitting there and they don't
do about it.
Geez, maybe having the government manage transportation resources isn't a good idea.
Well, I don't think that's what they're thinking. They're thinking, how the fuck can I get to work?
Well, it's because they're propagandized the whole time they're in the car to begin with.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily what their problem is. Their problem is they have to work. The problem is that they have to have a job. And if you have to be in fucking Santa Monica at 9 o'clock in the morning, there's only one way to do it. You got to get on the 405.
This is another way of looking at what we're doing. You know?
But that's not necessarily designed by the government to keep you stupid. That's just we run out of fucking resources. We have too many goddamn people.
No, that's a side effect of government, though.
Well, it's a side effect of them being incompetent, right?
Yes, and that you have the through the system of concentrations of wealth and power, you have unnatural incentives to live in concentrated population areas. And if anything, LA is still relatively spread out. I mean, compared to certain cities on the East Coast or in Asia.
I think they said Vancouver is the most densely populated city in this continent, which I thought was really fascinating. I would have never thought that it was that crowded, but I guess it's smaller and it's got a high population. But like there's areas of Vancouver that are most densely. I would have thought New York for sure. Wouldn't you have thought that it was New York would be more densely populated?
They have Central Park in the middle still.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's
New York's a great place, though. I mean,
it's a fascinating place.
Yeah,
it's certainly a hive of instant energy.
I never want to live there,
energy.
but it is a fun place to visit.
I agree with you. I've thought about spending time there. I've thought about like maybe living there for like a couple months, just for a goof, just to see what it was. I think it's good to mix your brain up and.
I almost
move
moved there
to
for a
different
girlfriend.
spots. Oh shit, another one.
I know,
dude. You need a friend. You need a friend.
Hey Joe,
you need someone who's going to talk to you when it comes to shit like this. Can't get too crazy, son.
I have an awesome app. I have an awesome new app that's going to blow your mind. It's going to make you kind of freak out a little.
What is it?
It's a program called Crime Map, and you can download it on your iPhone. I'm not sure if Android or not. And it uses GPS to tell you where you're at on the. It uses the map, but then it tells you all the has happened.
Wow.
And like within the one day, like just where I live, there's like burglary. There's been like assaults. There's been home invasions. There's like. And it will freak you the fuck out.
And that was all just Andy Dick.
Yeah, but like look at this. Here's like an example of where we're at right now at the Ice House, and you can see that there's been car accidents and crimes. There's been one mugging. It looks like, and it will. If you just zoom out, just look at this. This is gonna freak you out though. Like just for Pasadena yesterday. Just look how much fucking crime, and car accidents and shit like that.
Wow.
It will, and it's cool to do it at your house though, because then you're like, what the fuck happened down the street?
See, I think something like this goes back to this problem that I have with the human body in this technological society. It's not capable of keeping up with everything. There's too much shit coming at you, and there's too much shit coming at you that you really don't need to know about. I mean, maybe you should know that there've been 150 different car accidents in Pasadena, but that is gonna fuck with your head, man. When
there
you
is
leave,
such a thing as rational ignorance.
Yeah, you should be dealing with your life and your reality right now, but instead you're dealing with realities hundreds of yards away, a mile away,
but also
6 miles away, and all these realities are interfering into your reality.
But also, wouldn't you like to know, just for safety reasons, be able to check your house and be like, holy shit, there's been 7 home invasions in the last 2 weeks. I need to up my shit here before I get.
Most certainly, yeah. No, you got a good point. No doubt about it. All I'm saying is it's just weird that we have this ancient brain. It's certainly a good I certainly prefer to be able to access information than to not. But it's a weird brain that we have where we essentially have the same mind of people that lived in the past when you just write things down on animal skins. Those dudes, when we find their parchments, their brains are exactly the same as ours. When they find 2,000-year-old documents or 1,000-year-old, holy shit, their brains were exactly like ours. But think of how much more shit is in ours.
Yeah, but we're also not we don't know how to fucking skin a fucking goat and use its skin as a brawl or
That's
whatever,
true too.
So it took stuff away that we don't have to use anymore.
Yeah, but no, the access to information, the access to information. You're finding out about things that are happening in Pakistan and Syria and Japan is a nuclear problem, and what's going on in Russia and Chechen and the Philippines, and there's an earthquake in Thailand, and this shit is coming at you all day, every day. If you get on Twitter, if you get on CNN.com, if you go and access the news sites, you're constantly inundated by actions and things that are happening that literally have nothing to do with you, but it's a constant barrage of them because you are in contact with essentially billions of people and all the information that they project out there into the internet. And our little shitty brains are not meant to have that much information coming at us. We still have this tribal body that wants to move around and find animals and grow vegetables, and this is the same fucking body. And this body is getting YouTube videos and fucking all kinds of crazy information coming at it all day, 24 hours a day. It's almost like we're standing in the middle of a river and we're just trying to hold on to the water. It's almost like it's too much. It's almost like for every one person, there's way too much information that you have to absorb about everything. It's like, but to even focus on one thing, it's like you could give your whole life to politics, give your whole life to observing politics, and you still barely have a grasp on everything that's going on, all the sneaky little fucking underhanded deals that are taking place all over the place. How could you possibly manage them? How could you possibly even research them? How could you possibly even read all the documents that have been transcribed about every different case? You can't.
You can't.
It's insanity.
The people
It's
passing
nuts.
the laws don't even read them.
Yeah, it's what I was talking about before, about we're all a part of something. We all are a part of this weird fucking machine of humanity. And some people, their part is to figure out how to make an Alienware computer. Your part is to rile people up on the internet. I don't know what the fuck my part is, but everybody has a piece. The dudes
people up on
dudes
the
who are
internet.
making cars, they have a part.
You get people passionate because you are passionate, because you care and you understand all this. But let me go back to what Brian said, because he said something really profound about
that's not
everything.
impossible.
Yeah,
you just woke up the dragon. Woke up the dragon.
Yeah, right. No, because what you said about every development, like taking away a part of what it is to be a human being, right? And I remember just
what it used to be a human being, like hunting and trapping and fishing and living off the land, growing your own vegetables, knowing what to eat when you're sick. Yeah, I mean but by the way, it's almost impossible to do that now. Try fucking living off the land. Good luck.
Is that not some way evolutionary?
Yeah.
And
you can't hold a job and live off the land at the same time.
But I can explain this actually through my last DMT experience.
Oh.
I know, which is really interesting because I've been posting my DMT experiences on my YouTube channel, and
that's a good way to get arrested.
Yeah, I've had 3 sessions. I've been arrested enough times. They're not going to come after me for that. I've had 3 sessions, and every time I've smoked twice. And this every time has been exponentially more complex. The first time started with a blob of psychedelic colors. The second time, it had a bit of a female personality and a bit of a form to it, but not much more. The third time, I saw building structures and scenery type stuff. And the fourth time, I saw what I described as my face being raped with the truth of the universe. And it was this complex vision. And the last time, the third time, in the first launch, I saw a pattern of like colored bricks moving at me and unfolding in different ways and going through different color shifts and showing different shapes. And it was like, wow, now it's really complex and trying to show me something. And then I did another rip right then as soon as I came out of that one, and I spent half the time laughing. It was just such a beautiful experience, but I couldn't even describe the whole thing. And I was videotaping it, so I tried afterwards to talk to the camera and describe everything I did. And this one, actually, as we speak, Adam versus the DMT Part 2 and 2.1 are uploading with disclaimers on them. And then Part 3 is in the can, and I'm going to be editing it soon. But that second trip and the third time was just overwhelming. I couldn't even describe it, and it was so much coming at me and in different forms and in different colors and different shapes. But what I experienced in the middle of that just had me laughing with joy the entire time was an experience of the pure human will. And at first, it was like a vision of a brain floating in a psychedelic space, whatever. I don't even know how to describe it.
Right.
And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, though, where you're in that spacelessness experience. And then it wasn't the brain, and then it was my consciousness. And you realize that your consciousness is separate from your brain, and that it's still a product of your biology, but that there is something in the middle of it that is the human will, that is distinct, that is who we are. Because if you think about it, we're not particles, we're waves. What defines us is not our matter that is recycled every 7 years or whatever it is that all your cells are replaced in your body. You are a wave of energy. Everything that gives you identity as a human being, as an entity, is a wave. And what I experienced
what do you mean by a wave?
Well, what gives you form? It's not your body. It's not the material of your body. It's the course of your life. The person that you were as a baby, the body that you were 7 years later, did not have a single molecule in it that was in it when you were born. And every 7 years, your entire body is replaced. And all matter can be analyzed.
Except your neurons.
Right. Well, even then, the molecules are cycled out. It doesn't matter. I'm not a physicist. I don't care about the details of that.
I think you
but
keep
the point
your
is, you
neurons
think about
for
it.
life. That's why neurodegenerative diseases
Yeah, the cell
damaging.
structures you do, absolutely.
You can't really heal from them.
But all of the matter is recycled. And if you go down to the submolecular level, everything can be analyzed as a particle or a wave. And
I just was trying to figure out like if what's the best way for someone to try to wrap their head around what you mean by that? Because I kind of understand what you're saying, but when you say you're not a particle, you're a wave. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, what are you? What defines you?
This
isn't a question of physics. This is a question of philosophy. What defines you, Joe Rogan? Who are you?
I'm just this dude that gets to say what Joe Rogan does.
But are you the matter in your body?
I'm certainly my consciousness, my choices.
So are you the thoughts in your brain?
I would imagine that you are wherever the thoughts resonate from, whether or not it really is in your brain or whether it's in every aspect of your body. It's just your brain projects it, and whether or not it's even the brain that projects it, whether the brain tunes it in, whether it's like a frequency, and you just use this body as a vehicle. There's people that believe that. I don't know.
But that's what I experienced. What I experienced in my last DMT trip.
Right, but you were high as fuck.
That's
right?
true.
That's you got to always remember you were high as fuck. Whenever someone tells me like they had a psychedelic experience, I said, look, I've had a lot of them. They've changed my life. They're beautiful. They're amazing. Whatever that comes out of it. But you always have to open the door to the possibility that you were just high as fuck. And this is some shit that you might have already known anyway.
Oh, no, I do. I believe so.
I don't know whether or not you're really communicating with somebody when you do DMT. It seems like
I don't believe in any of that shit. I don't believe in any of this. No,
might be, man. It might be life forms.
No, I believe it does something to your brain.
Something around
you learn something to yourself, and things are exposed to your consciousness that wouldn't be otherwise. I think that's really important.
It could be that, but it also could be some sort of a chemical doorway to another dimension.
No,
communication.
No, I don't buy any of that.
Why not?
I don't buy any of
that.
Well,
the evidence is that dimethyltryptamine is something they believe your body produces when you're in periods of extreme stress or when your body thinks it's going to die. And if you follow all the different myths and different cultures' beliefs in the afterlife, I mean, so many of them involve going towards the light and these crazy visions. And what those are probably are near-death experiences because your brain is tripping out on DMT.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a much more rational explanation.
It might very well be real that we only think of ourselves as real because we can make noise, or you can hit you feel
but
yourself.
But we know, like from physics, that 99% of this is empty space.
Right, yeah, we don't, yeah, well that's certainly a part of the problem. We don't necessarily know what the fuck is really going on here. This thing really might be a simulation.
But this is
legit
what I experienced.
Science behind that.
This is what I experienced, and this is what was profound about it to me, was that it was, I could only describe it as pure human will. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say it was an out of body experience because that describes it wrong, but it was an experience where my consciousness was separated from the rest of my being.
That was what you took out of it. You felt like
that was what the experience was for me.
Right.
And that was a very empowering experience. And to get back to what Brian said,
when you say like by your being, do you mean by like your culture or your language, like you were free of all that, you were just a being? Did you feel that?
Yeah,
you with no context, right?
It was like a singularity. And this is, it's funny, this is how I think of the effect of marijuana when I smoke weed usually, and it's that if your consciousness is, and this is a crude metaphor, but a point moving around in your brain, a point of light, say, then marijuana makes it a more diffuse light. And sometimes that means exploring different things. And I think that explains the creative, legendary benefits of marijuana.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But it also means it's sometimes harder to put sentences together.
Yes. And sometimes it's hard to really get the idea and hold it down. It's like these new doors present themselves and you have to stop and look at it all and go,
But I'm inspired, man. This is a really exciting thing for me to get to be on your podcast.
Well, I'm inspired to have you on, man. It's cool to hear that you enjoy the show.
So anyway, to what Brian was saying, though, about...
Brian, what were you saying?
Something about fucking a Jack Daniels bottle or something.
That's what it was. No, it was about goats.
Okay.
It was about people forget how to kill goats and shit and make bikinis out of them.
But
I don't think they ever really did historically.
we can see the technological singularity coming, right? We
Right.
can see that coming. We can see
If we don't fuck it up, right?
we can see sooner or later, we're going to have taco copters and food's going to drop out of the sky for us, and
that'd
our
be so
cars will
nice.
drive themselves,
I
or
want that.
whatever the case is going to be. But I think that there's something else coming. When every surface around us is a touch screen, and
Right.
and we just get to that level of prosperity, and that's coming within our lifetimes because it's happening so exponentially. I see this as, who knows how long it's going to take, but again, an urgency for me to help humanity evolve past statism. But that what we're coming to is a state of greater experience in our day-to-day lives of that pure human will, that we're evolving to that. And, I know this is silly, but the first time I heard the term technological singularity, which describes that point at which we have computers smarter than human brains, is I thought, oh, that's when all of our brains are plugged into the matrix and we're all this hive mind and we've all replaced every individual brain cell in our skulls with computer chips. But who knows what that's going to look like? But what we're going to experience as human beings, and who knows if our waves are going to ride that long? If they're
Right.
if they're going to last that long. But I think most people alive today are, especially young people, are going to live to experience this, and we have a special motivation then to make sure that the world that experiences this technology is one that has evolved past statism, the desire, this thing of government, of imposing our will on others by force, of saying, well, if it's 51%, then it's okay, of saying, engaging in this truly pathological behavior. But I'm obviously very optimistic.
Yeah, no, you are very optimistic, and I hope you're right. You might be. Who the fuck knows? I would love it if the story turned out that we all pulled it together in the long run. I'm constantly disappointed by people. I'm constantly disappointed by stories. When I hear about the collapse of Greece and all that, I'm constantly disappointed. Like, really? Can anybody fucking keep it together anywhere? I'm constantly disappointed.
So you want to talk about currency on that note?
Hold on a second. But then I also look at all the shit that people have accomplished. Who the fuck ever would have figured out how to build a bridge?
Yeah.
Who the fuck ever figured out how to make airplanes? How was there a dude who really figured out how to put satellites up in the air so I can watch DirecTV? How is that? How did all that happen?
Yeah.
If all that happened, I hold out hope for the possibility that people could, as much as they have achieved creatively and technologically and with ingenuity, could also reach a same level of excellence with their social engineering and the way they treat each other and the way they develop a community and the way they project the idea that it's way better to have a world where everyone is happy than to have a world where a few people dominate people. And we have to figure out how to do it from the ground up. And it's got to be, you got to figure out how to raise children better. You got to figure out how to raise children better. And you got to deal with children that are in foster homes, and that's got to be handled way better. You have to look at human beings as resources and potential problems if they're not. The last thing anybody wants to do is grow up through life just constantly dealing with a fucked up childhood. I have so many friends that were abused as children, and they are constantly in battle with this, well into their 30s, constantly at battle with their childhood. And that's because people raising kids, they just do it their way. It's the most important resource that we have as human beings. And we used to have a whole fucking community. We used to have tribes of us, 50, 60 monkey people, and we all fucked each other, so nobody knew who the real daddy was anyway. And they were raising these babies, and the whole community and the tribe raised each other. They all stayed together. When that shit slowly started expanding into cities and people slowly lost their, you get that diffusion of responsibility feeling where, things are happening and it doesn't feel like it belongs to you. It's those people over there. You can't be living with those people over there. It should be a giant community or not. This is like some half-ass way we're doing it today. The way we're treating our society, it's like you're in my tribe, but you're not really, because I don't know you, dude. You just live down the hall from me. But still, we're all in the same fucking tribe. That's the weirdest thing ever. It's like your enemy could be inside your tribe. That should be impossible. We should figure out a way where we are treating everybody the same way.
This is one of the specific benefits of technology I'm looking forward to in the immediate future. And it's scary when government controls shit like the laser that can read your chemistry from
find out if you just drank Starbucks.
Yeah,
really?
Shit like that. But if you think about it, what we have with We're about to have a head-mounted iPhone, right? We've got Google Glasses.
Right.
That shit's getting smaller, faster, better. That laser thing, eventually that's going to be embedded in your contact lens with the rest of your smartphone and your
shove it in your
laptop.
ass in an injection, son.
Eventually.
It's going to be an injection. It's going to be an intramuscular. You get in the ass because it's a big muscle. It's not going to hurt. It's going to be deep inside the tissue. Boom, you're hooked up for Wi-Fi. But you got information coming in, Google. The only problem is if the early chips fuck up, they have to go in your ass and pull them out, and sometimes you keep a scar. People would do it.
Start rusting.
I feel the inevitable symbiotic connection between humans and machines is no clearly more easily proven than with phones.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I fucking panic if I leave my phone. If I drive in my car and I've left my house and I'm like, I don't have my phone.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be 10 minutes late, and rather than not be there with
or
my
you'll
phone.
be getting the shakes, right?
Yeah.
Have you tried to milk yourself away from that? Like I like it. I've been slowly milking myself away from Facebook and Twitter and my phone. Like I used to be like every time somebody texts me, I have to text them back and I have to do the call. Now I just don't even I'll throw my phone and just not look at it for 2 hours just because I
You
feel
say
like
2 hours like it's a long time.
Well, I know exactly, but before I was like every 10 minutes I was checking my Twitter or replying to a text. I can't. I'm trying not to do that. I don't want to even bother my phone.
Well, how crazy is Doug
Diaz.
Benson that Doug Benson gets all of his tweets on his phone? So if you really want to fuck with Doug Benson, just tweet him a lot of shit all day, and he will constantly get fucking vibrations in his pocket. That's
how
the
fucked
silliest
up
thing
is
I've ever heard.
that his phone doesn't? He can't. You don't get any of his messages.
I don't get any of his tweets.
That's
or his
crazy.
text, rather. He sent me like 4 or 5 texts. I didn't get a single one of them.
You know, he did it again, the following day. He's just been
I'm
like,
not
"You
getting
get this,
anything
you
from
get
him.
this, you get."
Nope.
And it doesn't say delivered like how it does.
Mhm.
But then you text him and it worked fine.
That's so strange. But then he texted me back, and it was okay.
Yeah.
He texted me back. It doesn't make any sense, man.
Yeah, he was
It's a
showing me
glitch.
all the texts. He's been since June 20th.
It's probably the CIA. The CIA and the DEA are looking at him as a potential source of all the marijuana in California. Can you imagine if you found out that Doug was a giant drug dealer and that he was being wired? That's why he's following us around. The CIA had already compromised him.
We were in Vegas after the show. We went to go play some slot machines, and we were both smoking out of apples. You know, just like getting.
By the way,
butter.
I should say I don't really believe that. I shouldn't even say that on the internet because some of you fucks are going to lock onto that and think I was being serious. Sorry.
But we were smoking some kind of butter or something out of an apple, like weed butter. And we got
smoking weed butter?
Or something. I forget what it was called. But it was something weird. We got so stoned we went to go play slots, and we found the Wizard of Oz slot machine. And if you ever have a chance, get really fucking baked and play that. It trips us out. We were blown away. We were both almost having panic attacks playing this slot machine. It's just really intense. It has this really good sound system, that's all around you, and then this humongous screen, and it's just a trip. It's like Wizard of Oz slots.
You're freaking out, and you're constantly checking your little crime tracker.
Right.
Oh, there's a mugger right behind us. There's a hooker right behind me.
That's what they need, a hooker tracker, where it shows you how many hookers are. There's 72 at Mandalay Bay. Let's go.
It's coming. I guarantee it's coming. And they should have people should have yellow lights over their head. Well, she's not really a hooker, but she has been thinking about it. She does have some bills.
Have you ever stayed at the Wynn?
No, I've heard it's amazing.
Amazing. All 10s everywhere. There's so much security though that you're not like the nightclubs. You're not allowed to stop and just stare at the nightclub for a second, or you have this guy coming out of nowhere that goes, "Please continue to walk."
So we just found the next location from Adam Kokesh versus the man, coming to you live. Civil disobedience, body slammed in Vegas. Silly people. Silly people. The Win is where that's that DJ Tiesto guy, right?
Yeah.
What kind of music do you listen to, dude? All Rage Against the Machine all day?
I'm glad you would say that, but no, it's
Fish.
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do it.
I'm kind of embarrassed to anscer that. I don't have time for music anymore.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
I put on Pandora for for the
What
gym.
do you do with your time that you don't have time
all
for?
I do is this. I read the news. I make YouTube videos. I'm getting better about my daily routine and getting enough sleep. I used to be really manic and stay up all night editing videos.
That always makes you look a little less crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, people
You're
make
already
fun of me
ranting about the
online, and they go
government.
like, he's stoned. It's like, no, you know when I'm stoned.
So you're just
But-
staying up making these videos and putting them out.
Well, now I'm getting better about my routine. I'm getting some interns that are really helpful and are able
now
to
you're a
help me
business.
maintain my productivity. Yeah, well, I've actually been operating as an LLC for the last couple of years. But
you are the man, dude.
I
You're
am
part
the
of the
man
part of the
now.
machine. You're an LLC.
This is how I don't pay as many taxes.
Oh, so you
So,
stick it to the man.
exactly.
You give the man less weapons.
Exactly. I'm
To
not
come
I'm not
after
funding.
you.
You can protest all you want as long as you keep paying your taxes.
Pretty ridiculous that the government doesn't give you a receipt. Like, tell me what you spent my money on. Can you at least give me a breakdown? They don't even have like the courtesy to give you a breakdown. You know, Mr. Kokesh, you spent $40,000 in taxes last year, and this
Oh,
is what it
man.
went to.
You have to
You
dig
know?
for it. But no, I like 90% of my time, that I'm outside of the house, if it's not for work, like going to political events. But it's not work. I love what I do. I don't consider
Right.
any of it work.
You're driven. You're
I love it.
obsessed.
I absolutely love it. Yeah. And there are parts of it that are work, but it's as a whole, it's not work. I mean, I love doing.
Yeah,
this.
I mean, we could say it's not work. There's always work involved, even in not work, even in athletics. It's
Right.
fucking work involved and everything. But you want to do it because
Yeah.
you want the
Yeah,
result. It's a
exactly.
different feeling than working for somebody. That's
yeah,
what
and I'm
we
not working for an intrinsic goal or for an extrinsic goal. I'm enjoying the experience. I'm loving my life.
and
I
you're
think-
doing it in the right frame of mind, with the right spirit. You're doing it in the spirit of trying to change things and help things. You're not doing it in the spirit of self-grandization or you're not trying to pump yourself up. And
So, I go to Whole Foods. I go to Target. I go to the gym.
Did I say that
I go
word
to
right?
Gold's Gym.
self-grandization.
Yeah.
How do you say it? How do you say it, Brian?
What?
Self-grandization.
No, I don't know what that is.
Self-aggrandization. Is that what it is? That's what it is, right?
Mm.
Self-aggrandization, right? Sounds so sexy, doesn't it?
Big words.
Sounds sexy.
So you just when
So
you
no,
go
so I have
to
no
the
life.
gym, you just throw on Pandora.
Yeah, and I go
Get
to
your lift on.
I go to the MMA gym. I'm training with Team Lloyd Irvin in Northern Virginia.
Oh,
in
beautiful!
Arlington.
Couldn't do any better.
Yeah,
That's a
I love
beautiful
it.
place to train.
I wish I had.
He's created a lot of really high-level guys, a lot of high-level jiu-jitsu guys that come
Yeah.
out of there.
I wish I had a
Ryan
little
Hall.
more like mentorship, but I've only been there since February, and I travel a
You
lot.
want mentorship after February, son?
I'm only going like 2 or 3 days a week, so
Yeah, it's-
on average.
Still, get in whatever you can get in. You
Yeah.
know? And if you're
But I
on the
love it.
road, if you're on the road, dude, Hindu squats, Hindu push-ups, you can get a ferocious workout in your fucking hotel room. That's like half the battle, especially when it comes to grappling. Half the battle's being in shape. If you're not in shape, it's fucking people just outlast you.
And the other half is knowing.
The other half is knowing. This is like The More You Know
Right.
on NBC. Do you have a goal? What you're trying to realize with your show and with your idea of a revolution? Do you have a goal? Are you
Well-
trying to enlighten people? Or are you trying to change things? Like, what's your idea?
Well, we see it as part of a larger goal of evolving past statism and getting past this particular phase of human evolution where we institutionalize all of our desires to dominate and control others by force into government. And you understand this. You've supported Ron Paul. You've come out and you see when a candidate speaks from this philosophy, and this is what we have in common, is this idea of voluntarism, of all human interactions being voluntary, free of force, fraud, and coercion, and understanding that government is what George Washington described it as. It is not eloquence or reason. It is like it is like fire. It is force like fire, a dangerous servant, a fearful master. And when you understand that government is force, and 99% of what it doesn't qualify as a morally justified use of force, whether it's starting wars or collecting taxes or beating people up for a plant or locking them in cages because we don't like what they're doing. It's all immoral. And we can find ways to do these things peacefully. We can find ways without democracy, without the majority imposing its will by force on the minority and using this. Well, we have 51% as a cover, so we can, we're justified in doing that. And that's part of the bigger goal, and really this is what I think a lot of people want me to inspire you to be a part of, and to really see yourself as someone who is part of this struggle, and someone who can see past, someone who has your wisdom to see past the current paradigm and see that there is something better on the other side.
Well, I think, like I said, there's certainly a potential for something better, but it's going to have to come through the youth. They're going to have to grow up into the system and change it, because it's changed from the time where people were wearing white fucking powdered wigs and they thought the world was flat, and it's going to change in our future as well.
No, is that a cop out?
No, how is it a cop out?
Because I heard a review of your podcast saying that you were like a big brother to a lot of people, and that you really serve that role. And I think it's a really powerful one. I've tried it.
What part of that statement about the evolution of people figuring out things through the youth and the youth learning from the mistakes of what part of that is a cop out?
Because you're in a position to be a leader. You don't have to wait for the youth. I mean, it's happening.
This sounds like what is that dude's name? Not Charlie Sheen. What's his brother? Emilio
Michael
Estevez.
Bolton.
This is Emilio Estevez plot from like 1994.
It's real.
What is a leader, dude? What I do, if it inspires people and they choose to act, that's my job. To do anything else is not my job. To do anything else is not what I do best. It's not what I have in mind when I get up every day, and I wouldn't want to do it because I wouldn't be happy. I don't think that everybody has to be involved in government. I think
it's anti-government. It's
even anti-government.
It's the evolution of humanity. It's what Ron Paul talks about in getting to a voluntary society.
Well, I would certainly like that. And that's why I talk about it as much as possible on the podcast. It's my job to inspire and communicate information and ideas, but not to lead. I don't have any desire to do that. I don't have any desire to be a part of that. I don't have any desire to tell other people what to do. The idea of being a leader is disgusting for me. Which is probably what you need in a leader. The real problem with leaders is they want to be leaders.
It's about being but see, you're right, and it's a different kind of leadership that we're talking about. And
I would be the worst best leader because I don't want to be a leader. No one should be a fucking leader.
I hesitate to use that term myself, and people like try to apply it to me, and I say absolutely not, because I can set an example in a way.
You better have a good fucking handle on your ego. When you start calling yourself a leader, you better have a good fucking handle.
That's why I don't let myself think of it that way.
So you talk about someone involved at the highest levels of political office that hasn't done psychedelics. I'm like, you are like a little blindfolded child behind the wheel of a Ferrari, and you're gonna crash that fucking thing. You made it all the way to the very peak of government. What did you do along the way that's gross? You did something. What'd you do? Was somebody that fucking committed suicide by shooting themselves in the head twice? Was any of those in your closet? What the fuck did you do to get here, man? You don't just get here. You get here, you're compromised, period. To have them get to that stage of running things and not having psychedelic experiences is really kind of childlike. I think the human being
But you go so far as to say that
stages.
people who haven't experienced psychedelics are in a childlike mental state of sub-awareness?
I would never say that about them because I don't know how they feel about the world, but I know for me, I was certainly very childlike before I did DMT. I was very self-centered. I had a very different perspective on my place in the universe, very different perspective on my place in humanity, my place with my friends, my place. It put everything into perspective and showed me an illuminated, correct pathway. And I think it's by the humblingness of the experience, destroys your ego, makes you just sit the fuck down and stop trying to control everything. It's like the universe is really a magical place. If you just absorbed only the magical aspects of the universe, you'd be constantly fascinated every hour of every day. But we forget that and get caught up and distracted in the horse shit and TMZ and nonsense. And it's just, we are still struggling with this fucking weird primate body that is trying to figure out how to manage massive groups of people and insane volumes of information coming at us all day long. And that's where we stand now. That's our conundrum. Our conundrum is we're surfing, but we might not stay on the board before we hit the rocks. We might Fukushima this whole motherfucker. And that's no joke. We just need a few eruptions here and there. One fucking super volcano.
Doesn't that motivate you?
It certainly motivates me to live the most out of my life. It motivates me to put out the most, more podcasts, to do more stand-up comedy, to have more fun, to enjoy life, to enjoy my friends. It motivates me to do that.
That's what motivates me too.
Yeah. Just I think you have a different track. You're on this, we got to get shit done, civil disobedience, and go after them. You're on this track, and to say that I'm a leader and I need to be a part of that track, I really don't.
It's not that you need to be. I'm just inviting you to be.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm not saying that I'm in any way, shape, or form critical of it.
I'm inviting you to nurture the part of you that already is on this track,
because you already are. I would never do that. If a guest asked me to nurture that, but what kind of nonsense?
No, you already are. You already are anti-authoritarian. You already are.
I'm not anti-authoritarian. What I am is pro-nice.
Exactly.
And the real problem with any sort of authority, I was a fucking security guard for one summer at Great Woods Center for the Performing Arts. It's this place in Mansfield, Massachusetts. I got to see fucking amazing bands. I got to see Rodney Dangerfield perform live naked in a bathrobe. Rodney Dangerfield would wear a bathrobe, and I was.
Now I feel like I need to leave.
Thinking about being a comedian, man. And this is how he'd go on stage. He would go on stage with a bathrobe on. He was such a bad motherfucker. I got to see Bill Cosby while I worked there, but we were at a what the fuck is his name? Not Jethro Tull. God damn it, I can't remember his name. Southern man, Neil Young. We were at a Neil Young concert, and they started fires up in the. There was like a wooded area, or rather a grassy area at the top. It was like an amphitheater outside, and then there was a top area that was grass. Well, people decided to start fires, and fucking hell broke loose, dude. And it became an us versus them thing. It became a us, 19-year-old kid, security guard, and my friends who also worked there against all these people who were Neil Young fans who were fucked up on drugs and starting chaos and starting things on fire. And I watched like people hit people that I never would have thought would have hit somebody. Like my friend Larry was like one of the nicest, most peace-loving guys. And I watched him punch this dude in the stomach. And I'm like, I can't believe Larry just hit that guy. And I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. But it was an immediate us versus them thing that happens when it becomes a real problem if you're not educated right. If you work in any position of authority, any position of, you're going to have some control and be able to tell people and to be able, we got to work compassion into that, because when you don't have that, when you lose that we're all in this together, then you're not a cop, man. You're the fucking enemy. Like that.
That's
you saw that video
in
Long Beach where that kid is lying down and they step on his head. Did you see that?
Kelly Thomas. The one that died in the hospital?
No. He didn't die. The kid who was in a Long Beach medical marijuana dispensary. The cops came in and broke the door.
They shot the dog.
On him.
Yeah.
They stepped on the guy. It's a really recent video.
Yeah, no,
you might not
have
have
seen
seen it. But anybody who would do something like that, you get a peaceful person who's just lying down.
It's pathological.
It is pathological.
And it's the same thing as what government is.
And it's the same thing that chimps would do if they could do that to other chimps. It's fucking primal. It's primal, ridiculous, selfish behavior. And that's what really needs to be eradicated. We need to figure out a way to connect people.
That's what this is about. That's what this movement is about. That's what the revolution is about.
What is the revolution? What is the movement?
Well, this is why we call it the Levolution.
The Levolution?
No, you know how you saw the Ron Paul Levolution, where it's revolution,
right.
and the evol is backwards, so it says love.
Yes.
That's how we say the Levolution.
Right.
And really, that's what it's about. It's about embracing the divinity of every human being and treating every human being with the love, faith, and respect that we want for ourselves. And we're coming to the point where we're realizing this anyways, because the market favors cooperation. The market favors that people who are able to get along are able to be more prosperous, are able to out reproduce and out compete the ones that aren't. And so it's kind of happening anyways. But what's exciting and really this is why I don't want to. I'm not here to tell you like, you have an obligation to do this. Like, if you don't vote, you're an irresponsible citizen. It's not that bullshit. It's just that this is something that motivates me in the same way that you have a similar motivation. And I'm the oldest of 5 brothers. It's Adam, Andrew, Alex, Alden, and Audrey. My dad has a big white Suburban. The license plate says A-Team. So, and for some of them, I was more like a crazy uncle than a big brother. But this review that I read of your podcast was describing you as, a big brother to your audience. And I think, in that capacity, being able to share this vision at least and
well, I think the problem is when you start calling it a revolution, first of all, because then people
that's why we call it a revolution, because it's an evolution.
Self-aggrandizing, is that what the word we agreed on? It becomes that. You call it whatever, Levolution. It's you define yourself as a movement.
You don't have
this is come join the movement.
Well,
like I'm not already in the movement. Am I already in the movement?
I think you already are.
So how am I joining things? You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden, like okay, I'm in. Or, then we become a movement.
It's about self-identification.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. I think what we are is human beings that understand that our system is not correct. And to call ourselves a revolution, to call ourselves anything other than just human beings, I think is pointless. I think it's rational thinking human beings that realize there's something wrong here. And that includes the people in the system. That includes cops, that includes judges, that includes lawyers, that includes everybody along the line that is all equally eligible for a personal awakening. Every single one
Absolutely.
of them, with the proper medication in the right setting, could see some shit that would make them rethink reality. And it would make them humble enough to at least understand that they don't know everything, because they never knew that that was there. You can say you know everything. I'm a fucking smart guy. I was top of my class. I get you high on DMT. I guarantee you will think about everything different for the rest of your life, because you didn't know that was there. You didn't know that all you had to do was follow a few simple steps, and you're in a different land where everything is complex geometric patterns made out of love and understanding that are communicating with you in some sort of a telekinetic language or telekinesis language. I don't think that you can really appreciate life unless you know that that's there. If you don't know that that's there, it's like you've lived 3/4 of a life. Like, you don't understand. There's an experience, and it only takes about 15 minutes, and you'll never be the same again.
Yep.
Like, you're going to come back, and you're going to be burdened with all your past preconceived notions and ideas and all the things that you've learned from your life, but you're essentially going to be a totally different person now. You're a person who can never forget the things that you saw or the way that you felt when you experienced that. Now, whether that's just your brain getting tweaked with chemicals or whether it really is what it feels like. Because what it feels like is you're going to another place. And we just assume that the only way to travel is to put one foot in front of the other, or get in a car, or get in a plane. You might be able to travel chemically between dimensions. And that might be what things like DMT are all about. That might be why it's made by your own fucking brain.
Well,
we should make Obama
that's
get
why
high on
I
DMT.
probably just should have started this conversation by saying, "Hey, welcome to this thing that we're describing as a movement now." Because you're
it's
clearly,
no big deal, man. I'm being super hypercritical for no reason.
No, but you're already a part of this, and you know, the reason that so many people in my audience really appreciated this conversation and like or anticipated it is because they realized that you already carry this message in a way very powerfully in the way that you talk about society and the way that you integrate it. And what I just want to do is I want to express my appreciation for that.
Well, thank you very much. But I think everybody does now. I think we've reached a point where we're going to melt. Is the fucking AC down?
Yeah, they're fixing it right now.
Oh, so they shut it off? Yep. Sons of bitches. Good. We feel the heat of suppression that Mother Earth gives us, and this oppression will help us get through this podcast better. Look, man, I think everybody's recognizing it now. Anybody with a brain is realizing, Bush was the first guy where everybody had to step back and go, wow, like, because of the access to information, that was the first time we got real news, daily news online and shit. That was the first time people realized, like, whoa, this administration is bought and paid for. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is the most obviously bought and paid. Like, they're rocking it in a way that nobody had previously done. Everybody had been way slicker about hiding their connections to money and to war profiteering, but the Bush administration just let their freak flag fly. They just fucking went out, started 2 wars that made no sense, profited a fuckload of money. If you could talk to George Bush, what would that conversation be like? If you could just get alone with that guy, would you do it respectfully? Would you slowly try to chip away at it and try to get his perspective? Or do you think you would just lose your fucking mind when you were just in the face of someone who is at least indirectly responsible for the death of probably 1 million people?
And for my own PTSD, in a sense, you know?
Sure. And what would that be like to be in front of that guy?
Well, I that's a great question, and I used to, when I was active with Iraq Veterans Against the War, when I got out of the Marines and was disgruntled and started questioning things, I used to fantasize about that, like
a physical violence?
Like I'd punch him in the face.
Whoa,
or
I don't think you should say that on the radio.
Well, this was like George Bush,
But I don't even think you can threaten him, like a past president. I don't think you can fake do that.
No, but...
Isn't that funny? They could arrest you for that.
I know. I've
yeah.
I've had experiences.
But now you feel differently.
Well, yeah, I think part of my own philosophical development and my own experience going through to the point where I feel like I got to, you never get all the way to the bottom, but like to the effective bottom of the rabbit hole for me, that allows me to function the way that I do now with my current understanding of the world. Part of it was having a philosophical approach. Like there's a quote from a Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, I'm sure I'm butchering the name, but it's something like when someone does harm to you, it is only because harm has been done to them and they are reflecting it back and they are expressing it. And to me, I see that is what government as a whole is, in the sense that it's pathological behavior. It is a relic of human evolution, of the scarring of the only way we were able to raise kids in the state of nature was you beat them so they keep up with the tribe, and the evolution of that into government. And I see that as George Bush simply a representation of that broader social phenomenon of government being the last manifestation of this desire to control and dominate and use violence against others. And so he's just, and it's not that the president is a pitchman or a puppet. He's a power broker. He legitimately makes decisions. But the reason the one who usually gets into the position is the one that is because he's reflective of the environment that produces him. And that's the existing power structure. And that's the paradigm of society as a whole. And that's why changing the paradigm and waking people up and the perspective that you share about government is so powerful, because what ultimately determines whether or not you are going to be free is whether the human beings around you agree that you should be free, and they won't tolerate people initiating force against you when you're acting peacefully.
So the only way to do that is to make them happier. That's the real trick. You gotta get them to lighten the fuck up. Things are not that bad. You really look in perspective, things are not that bad.
Well, one of my biggest philosophical influences is Stefan Molyneux, and he went through a whole process of describing this anarcho-capitalist ideal society, and really to embrace this philosophy, you kind of have to go through all of the resistances that people have, like, without government, who's going to build the roads, And it's the same question as people would ask when we were trying to abolish slavery. And it was, but without the slaves, who's going to pick the cotton?
I don't think there's anything wrong with having a form of council. The idea of calling them government, and like what the Obama administration was able to do, what the Obama administration was able to do in this whole Operation Fast and Furious, where he was able to, just say, I don't want to talk about it, and what is it, invoking executive order or whatever?
Privilege, yeah.
Executive privilege. I mean, how silly is that? You just there's a giant scandal where they sold guns to Mexican drug dealers, and they said, oh, yeah, we're just going to track them.
Well,
and then one of those guns killed one of the
a border patrol agent, yeah.
Like, the idea that he would be able to use executive privilege and get out of that, and to do it so blatantly. Like that's a creepy thing. Like, you can't have things like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that kind of shit. Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, in a form of council, that would never exist. In a form of dictatorship, that's where something like that exists.
Well,
it's a get out of jail free pass.
It's what do you think that you need government to accomplish, and how can you do it?
I think
instead of having an arbitrary.
We like leaders, and the lead. But I think the leaders should be.
It's anti-political. It's anti-leaders. It's anti-authoritarian. It's saying we are not going to allow ourselves to be cowed. We are going to understand that as human beings, in what we call the free market, we are able to cooperatively accomplish all the things that we have been convinced we need government for.
Right, I understand that, but someone's going to have to execute decisions. Someone's going to have to put things in motion. You're going to have to group people that are going to vote on things.
Give me examples. What is it?
Anything that needs to get done, whether you're not, you have. You might not have a consensus of how many cops need to be hired, as opposed to how many teachers need to be hired,
the community
or
can
how much they should get.
The people paying for those services.
Right. How do they do that? They do that with a form of government. They get together. They have council.
They do it through corporations. They do it through companies where they're able to buy protection services, where they're able to get the legitimate services that police provide without forcing it on people just because they happen to be their neighbors.
Even teachers. Even deciding what salaries are. You're going to have some sort of a way that people can interact with each other, and then someone's going to have to execute it.
That's called the free market.
Yeah, but that person who executes it should be someone of respected counsel, someone we could take advantage of the fact that there's people that are older and more brilliant.
Why was Steve Jobs the CEO of Apple? What made Steve Jobs the CEO of Apple?
Very creative guy. Started off
market forces. He was the most valuable one to be in the command of those market resources.
So you want to turn the government and how things are run into just a big free market, as far as police, as far as teachers, everything's just a giant free market.
I want to take the violence out of it. I want to take the coercion out of it. I want it to be accomplished peacefully by people cooperating instead of saying, oh, well, you live here, you're going to pay these taxes. Oh, well, you live here, you're going to be under these rules.
But someone's going to have to organize how the hospital gets kept up. Is that going to be a public thing, or is that going to be, you opposed to everything public?
Look at how much more
public education. Are you opposed to public?
I'm opposed to education that's funded by violence.
How's it funded by violence? What do you mean by that?
You think a child going to school doesn't understand that if they don't go to school every day, their parents get in trouble, and that the way the school is paid for is by taxes that the parents pay against their will, whether or not they have children in a school system? Children get that. They understand that. We grow up. This is the status paradigm.
Okay, but that's a one-way way of looking at it. It's also true that parents pay taxes in a very specific neighborhood because they know there's a good school system in there, and then they run rallies for the school system, and they gather up money, and people donate.
Right, and so that's
also
better.
true. I see that.
And so that
involved in
element,
community schools
right,
as well.
That
But it's not always negative.
Okay, that aspect of it, however, is superior, is it not, to the federal Department of Education coming into that community and saying, now you're going to follow these testing standards in order to get these funds, and if you don't do what we say with this. So all I'm saying is,
it's nice that a careful community.
Yes, you see that
helps.
difference. So that community should be determined not by people.
Right, but
who are
how is it
forcing them to-
violence? I mean, how is this? Is the money paying the teachers? How is that coming from violence? I don't understand.
How do you pay taxes? What happens if you don't pay taxes?
Well, you're not contributing to society. I mean, I don't think we should be paying
you're not
as much
contributing to
taxes
war.
as we are.
You're not contributing to war.
I don't think
you're not
I don't
contributing
think
to corruption.
that is true. But
So
do you think that all taxes are bad? Do you think that we should have no taxes?
all taxes are immoral.
All taxes are immoral. So how do we expect to pay for the city streets? How do we expect to pay to maintain some sort of a presence with police officers and fund them with cars? Is it all just donations?
No. Well, this is the difference between what we have with government and what we already have in the free market.
Do people pay for protection then? Does it become
Exactly.
the cops
And you
become
can do it at
protection?
the community
You think
level.
that sounds like a good idea?
You can do it at the
private
community
cops
level.
that decide to not save you because you didn't pay for protection.
The difference is with them, all you get is protection, whereas with the police today, do we get protection?
Sometimes
No.
you do.
That's
No,
not true.
that's not true.
When
I know
seconds
good
count-
cops. There's good cops out there. Man.
Okay, well, what
there's
did
not all bad. All cops are not bad. Just because some cops do a bunch of stupid shit, and those guys in the video with you are clearly bad.
Okay,
cops.
so wouldn't you? This is the mechanism by which you separate the good cops from the bad cops.
Their
The
actions.
No. This is the mechanism by which you actually do it. Is you take the arbitrary power of government away from them. You make them serve the market. You make them serve the people peacefully. You make them convince you that their services are necessary. Not put a gun to your head and say, if you don't pay our taxes, you're going to get locked in a cage.
Well, I think that locking someone in jail for taxes is very unfortunate, and it doesn't make sense when you think about how many fucking gigantic corporations have gone bankrupt and how much more that affected people than, one person who's not paying their little tiny slice of the military-industrial complex's pie. But you should have to pay something. It should make sense you're getting something out of it, and you should want to contribute. If I live in a community, and if everybody said, well, hey man, our streets are all fucked up, but Mike gathered up all the names that everybody lives here and realized if we all just chip in $100, we could fix this whole thing. I think it's worth it for me for $100. Are you in? And everybody goes, yeah. Well, that would be beautiful.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That'd be
That's
beautiful.
not government. That's great. That's
That'd
exactly
be beautiful.
But see, technology allows us all the
ways. If we didn't have jobs, if we didn't have responsibility, children, careers, if we didn't have things we had to think about all day, instead you're running around there trying to fucking figure out how to pay the firemen and how to make sure that the cop tires are good, and at a certain point in time, how much micromanagement can you do in your fucking community?
Well, how is it for cable now? Internet, TV in your house. How is it that you get that without government?
But you propose that for things that we think of as civil services, right? You propose that for like cops.
Well, look at how.
And I just think
much
that
has developed.
that becomes tricky, man.
Well, the
private
question
cops,
is,
that's mercenaries. Think about what the fuck is going on in Iraq right now.
Mercenaries are only made. The problem with mercenaries is that they do things that the government funds them to do that the market would never support them doing.
Well, guess what, man?
In
You
the market,
privatize
people
cops.
only want cops to do legitimate things. The only way that you have mercenaries doing things that are immoral is because it's funded by government in the first place.
Okay, I could see that argued easily. If they don't have a specific set of rules and are only open to the market, they're going to push as far as they possibly fucking can to get things done. And if they're dealing with businesses that have a lot of money, they're going to do things that aren't legal. But that's what would happen if you privatize the cops. And that's a fact. That's just how human beings are. If you give them little loopholes and you allow them to figure out how to get through those loopholes, they're like rats on a sinking ship, and they're going to pop out and they're going to fuck things up.
No, because you're basing that on an understanding of the corporate structure of the current government paradigm, where government empowers corporations to have an unnatural advantage in the market and protects them them from competition.
But cops, man.
Hold on, no. In your scenario, you say rich people, like existing corporations and concentrations of wealth, would abuse this ability to hire police forces and private whatever to be able to do evil things. Well, guess what? They already can. The thing is, what we have is a government that keeps the rest of us from doing the same thing, from being able to say that our demands for community safety services, our demands should be met by the market, not by a monopoly that's forced on us. This is why this is the premise of the drug war, man. You do this, the drug war goes away. You do this, all unjust laws go away, because the demands on the enforcers are the demands of the market. They're what people actually want. The bad cops go away because you get to fire them. There's no police unions that say you can't fire people because, and there's going to be a law against this, that if a cop shoots somebody, he's going to get paid leave. You know, that kind of bullshit. All of that goes away. When you have roads, like I was telling you, in the way that they're holding us back from technological development, but specifically like in New Mexico, where the Speaker of the House gets to just say, well, put that intersection by my land, so the value of it goes up. All of that goes away. And to say that, well, we need violence
so corruption goes away.
Yes.
How does corruption go away?
Because in order to make money in the free market, this is
so the free market makes corruption go away.
Well, hold on a second. The capitalist ideal is that as free individuals, multiple parties are able to engage in trade because it's of mutual benefit, right? I give you something, you give me something. We both believe that we're better off from it. This is the basic concept of capitalism, of free trade, of application of yourself as a capital resource engaged in the free market. And anytime you introduce coercion into that, you take away from our ideal potential as humanity to engage in commerce.
Of course, I got no argument with that.
So that's what government does. And so if you had the ability now, as we do technologically, obviously, to pool resources, to come together.
But you're saying, you're calling government, you're defining human nature as government. You're saying anybody with power, you're defining that as government.
No,
and
I'm
just saying that would happen in your private
No.
cop system too.
Right, no.
Probably worse.
Right, what I'm saying is that government is the current manifestation of human desires to control and dominate others by force, right? This is the premise of...
And that's the only way to govern, is what you're saying.
Well,
the only way to govern
is the definition of governing.
And without that, it's impossible to have like a compassionate leadership. It's impossible.
No, with that, you have cooperation. You have leadership of people that are doing good work.
So that's a government.
No.
What is the leadership then? If there's a leadership, you got a government. If you got someone who's leading, you got a government.
Not necessarily.
So you got another government. You got a benevolent government.
You think Steve Jobs wasn't a leader in the technological field?
I think Steve Jobs was a general of Apple.
Absolutely. So was he government?
Yes.
You think Steve Jobs was government?
For sure. If you were involved with Apple, and you left your phone, the prototype phone in a bar somewhere, even though it's awesome free publicity, you would be arrested, or they would for sure. They checked the guy. They fucking stormtroop his house with machine guns. Looked everywhere for the iPhone. Then is that not like what the government would do? That's exactly what the government would do. And then they fire the guy. That's exactly what the government would do. Yeah, so I'd say Steve Jobs was the government.
Okay, well then we're still sort of talking about it.
I mean, if that is a corporation, I mean, if that is the real free market, I mean, the corporation is the village of Apple.
Okay, but you're throwing up these objections that are justifications for government.
Totally not objections. Okay, this is all just devil's advocate.
Okay, devil's advocate. But then it's an important thing to say. But like I said, when you were living under slavery and someone said, "Hey, we need to end slavery," the devil's advocate was saying, "But who's going to pick the cotton?" And the answer is, if you understand,
I'm not saying that you should.
Well, it's like
be under the thumb of an oppressive government. I'm saying, can't we have people that we really love and respect, real leaders? Because if you look at a guy like Bill Clinton now that he stopped chasing tail and everything,
what makes you think he stopped?
You think he stopped?
No, guys like that don't stop.
You don't think so? Imagine those girls and their hard drives, Clinton dick pics. If they wouldn't stop, there'd be Clinton dick pics, man. Don't you think so? They'll be worth so much money. How can the girls keep their mouth shut?
Do you know how many people Clinton has killed?
I wonder how many people Clinton has killed. Do you think he's killed a lot of people?
No, but I think after you suck his dick, you get a little briefing.
Do you think that... Did you ever read The Strange Death of Vince Foster? Do you know the story behind that guy? It's one of the guys involved, and somehow or another he had some sort of connection to that giant real estate deal that the Clintons were involved in, where people started fucking disappearing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There was a chain email that went around that had this list of there's like 70 people that mysteriously died around the Clinton family.
It might just be how things are done. It might just be how, at a certain point in government, everybody just knows that's how shit's done, and it's always been that way. And here's the fucking Zapruder film. I mean, it must have always been that way. It seems like I mean, even Obama, all the things that Obama said, you think about the stories of Obama being in Hawaii, smoking pot with his friends. His friends said Obama would go, interception, step in, take the joint.
What an asshole. That's a bad stoner.
Yeah, what?
That was the news. Like, not that Obama was a stoner. I think he was an asshole stoner.
Yeah, I mean, unless everybody's already high and it's just funny. It's kind of funny.
It could be. It could be an inside joke.
Yeah, if everybody's already baked and you're just pointlessly
or he's the guy always buying
joint.
The weed, and could it's be. Like, I'm a heavyweight, I'm going to buy the weed, so.
Or he could be a selfish dick.
Or he could be an asshole power broker who's murdering people as president of the United States.
It was a strange time when Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, and then they sent 30,000 more people to Afghanistan, like a month later. That was so strange. It was so strange. It was like, wow, this is the part in the movie where you gotta go, what the fuck? This is a part of like
not
The Watchmen.
A movie.
The Watchmen. It's like an episode of a giant episode of The Watchmen. If like they continued to make the series, did you see the Watchmen? You don't watch any movies, man.
I'm a loser that way. You know what?
Removed from the cultural loop. Where do you get your fun?
I watch documentaries.
That's where you get your fun, really?
Well, like I said, I go to the gym.
Right,
I go to MMA.
That's fine.
I run with my dog. I go to Whole Foods. I go to Target when I need to, and I'm at my apartment. I'm a total homebody.
And you're just working constantly.
Yeah, I'm making videos.
Eyes on the prize.
Loving it. Yeah.
That's good, man. But you gotta have some fun in this life.
It is fun. That's the thing.
Well, as long as that is.
You ever go to Olive Garden?
No.
Brian, you can't do 2 Olive Garden in one episode. You're overdoing yourself. You're becoming a parody of your own creation. Stop it. Yeah. Stop before you ruin this fucking beautiful show. I'm totally not disagreeing with you, by the way. When we talked about anything, it's just I'm a devil's advocate sort of a guy, and I think that you have to explore. Whenever someone gives me absolutes, that's when I automatically go, what about this? Yeah. And it's not that and people will argue with me on Twitter, and I'm like, I agree with you too. I'm not committed to any version of the future that I think is going to be optimum. But I'm not averse to the idea that someone could be in a position where they could benevolently guide people instead of the idea of run us like a government, and be able to be involved in some sort of fucking crazy gun running scheme and evoke executive privilege where you don't have to talk about the crazy gun running scheme that they sold guns to Mexican drug dealers, and one of them killed a U.S. federal agent. You don't have to talk about that. Not in my vision of what's possible. I think you have to be accountable for all your information. You have to be accountable for all your duties, and it should be a place of benevolence. I don't think that's possible, man.
That's happening with technology, too.
It's happening with your podcast, I'm sure. It's happening with this podcast.
No. I mean, in a real simple mechanical sense, the way that technology is empowering, Google Glasses.
Yes.
Pretty soon we're going to have facial recognition embedded in contact lenses, right? And to the extent that you want to make your information public, people will be able to scan your face and see your reputation, and it'll be there'll be some way of accounting for your reputation visually that pops up if people want to see that.
Your Yelp score.
Yeah, exactly.
See how many stars you get.
You're going to be able to. Well, like we're all and that laser thing that they have at the TSA agents, the checkpoints now where they shoot the laser and read all your shit. You're going to have that embedded in your glasses. It's all going to be a part of the system of accountability, and it's weird because everybody should be uncomfortable about how privacy is going away. But if anything, you get the government out of it, and you decide what your level of invasiveness is, and that's what's so cool about this technology empowering people to do things that we think we need government for that we really don't. And it's now with the technology as superfluous as it is, it's easy to see it. You can see it coming.
I see what you're saying. What you're saying is that people are going to have to act together, and instead of government, they're going to have to form some sort of a sense of community. It's just really hard to do that when the numbers are so big. We're just not designed to deal and be able to manage hundreds of millions of people. When one person is in charge of that, it's almost ridiculous.
Well, who's in charge of the internet? That's the hive mind, though. That's where it's happening.
That's what's beautiful. But
that's
the
where
internet,
the paradigm is shifting.
Right now, at least, can't really make physical things manifest themselves as easily as a group of people can.
Well, our civil disobedience beach party that was a group of people breaking laws and standing up to the man the other day happened on 24-hour notice because I got a Facebook and a Twitter account.
Right. Well, you dug holes, and good job.
Hey, it's a start, man. It's a start. We're working on the tax revolt for when Obamacare is fully implemented. But like this is how you start is by celebrating civil disobedience.
I think
and
how
stepping
you
up to the
start
man.
is the conversations that you started on this podcast and the topics that you're so passionate about. This is really how it starts, because now there's some dude right now that is on the train on his way to work, and he listens to this podcast every day, and these ideas are imprinting in his head, and they're helping him or influencing him in his decision and what he's going to do with his future. And that's where I think everything is starting. I think everything right now, what we're seeing as far as the changing of the world, is nothing compared to the people that are growing up with the internet from baby to grown up, because that's a totally different fucking human. They're not gonna. You're not gonna be able to sell them Donald Rumsfeld bullshit. You're not gonna be able to sell them Dewey Decimal System horse shit. No, they're gonna Google and know on a fucking note that looks like a laptop and it fits in your pocket. You know,
exactly
you can't
what
fuck
I've been
with
saying,
that.
man. These are the kids that are recording their teachers and calling them on their bullshit because they know that public schools are government-run indoctrination centers. You know, you saw that made headlines in North Carolina.
Public schools are just cheap as fuck is what they are. They have no money and everybody sucks.
What is the purpose they serve to government, man? No, it's more than that. There's a reason government has taken over education. This is the dumbing down.
Yeah.
You look at the Federal Department of Education, instituted like, 40, 50 years ago, when we were at or near the top of every international educational ranking system.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're down like 30, 40. It's not by accident. It's by design.
What
they
I've
want
seen
you to be dumbed down and not question government. They want to control the curriculum so you don't learn about topics like what we're talking about now. This is why they don't teach real history.
But
don't
who
teach
is they,
economics.
man? This is the real problem with it. I think it's more incompetence
It's the
than it is a plot.
man. No, you're right. No,
I
this
think
is why
it's
say
more
It's
incompetence.
a product of the paradigm.
Yeah, it's
something
people don't benefit and profit from making the schools better, so it's easy to keep them suppressed. It's not that there's some sort of a strategy that they're trying to keep people stupid. It's that there's no money to be made from making people smart. So why should they try? So they don't try. So they underfund the schools. So when things get cut the fucking teachers' pay. For fuck math. Suck my dick. Cut her pay. So that's we need to balance the budget. What should we do? Cut the school. No more wrestling. And that's what it's coming from. It's not coming from some fucking grand poobah plot where there's a bunch of assholes standing in the middle of a field burning an effigy deciding how they're going to keep people stupid.
Yeah,
it's incompetence.
And
it's incompetence more than
never
anything.
ascribe to conspiracy what can be described by incompetence. I learned that from working
especially
for the
government
myself.
workers, right? Yeah. Government fucking workers. That is the tap out job of all time. You're like, I got no ambition, man. You know, what do I got to do? You know, what do you want me to do?
But
you know?
This is the reason, and it's not by accident. The first thing they cut from the curriculum is your ability to see what is happening.
What is that though? What's going to help you?
They don't
shit teachers. What the fuck's
they
going to
don't
help you see
teach.
what's
They
happening?
don't teach. Well, the obvious
what they
one
should
is
do.
civics. They don't teach civics anymore.
Is put you in a room with a teenage kid that's a nice guy, and you want a water? Yeah. Put you in a room with a teenage kid that's a nice guy, and he tells you to go to all his favorite websites, and you guys just go to websites all day, and you learn shit. Now look at this CNN. Look at this. This is a story right here. This is how the Egyptian guy got in government. And hear this. Now you go like this, and you find out, well, we're actually worse off with the new government in Egypt because they're even more crazy. They're the Muslim Brotherhood. Oh shit! I mean, you can get more education out of a couple of hours with a curious person and a computer than you can out of most school days.
Well, this is one of the things that's happening in America right now. This what we call the libertarian mind melt, and it's kind of a phenomenon we see people going through. We used to joke, like, what's the difference between a minarchist and an anarchist? You know, someone who believes...
a minarchist?
Someone who believes in government limited to the Constitution or to specific principles. You know, the government should only be used for this or that, as opposed to really we should evolve past government
I've never heard that expression, a minarchist. How are you spelling that? M-I-N? Like minimalist?
Yeah.
Minimalist?
Exactly. And Ron Paul is often confused as a minarchist. You know, he presents a minarchist platform as an immediate practical transition of going back to the Constitution, or at least getting government restrained to what it's legally authorized to do, supposedly.
Right.
And his end goal, though, is a voluntary society. And when I interviewed him for my TV show, we talked about this, and he says that he is a voluntarist. All human interaction should be free of force, fraud, and coercion. And when you really get that, you're okay saying, I don't know, when you look to the future. And you're okay saying, when we don't have slavery, I don't know who's going to pick the cotton. I don't know, if we're going to have big machines that do, that are going to pick the cotton for us and then spit out T-shirts. Like, we don't know. how that's going to happen. Like, who's going to build the roads? We don't know. Like, what's the exact system that the market is going to be able to do? Who's going to do it? People are going to do it. People are going to do it peacefully. And when you understand that government is at its premise immoral,
there's going to be potholes everywhere. Nothing's ever going to get done.
That's
no one's going to do their part.
That's
Lazy bitches. They're going to show up late, put in a half-assed day.
The hospital's going to smell like armpits.
Yeah, listen, man. I don't know if people are ready for that yet. I see what you're saying. We both want improvement. I see what you're saying. I don't know if I'm married to your system, though, man. I don't know if I'm married to this crazy anarchy.
People
government system.
People are going through this, and in the course of, I mean, we've been talking for a few hours, but in the course of a conversation, it's very hard for someone to really shed their attachment to violence, because that's what it is. You have it in.
Why do you keep saying violence, though? The government doesn't necessarily have to be violent if it evolves in a council. 10 minutes, you just got the 10-minute warning. At 3 hours, our fucking thing becomes a pumpkin.
Oh, okay.
We're done.
Well, that's the definition, though, of government. It's all backed up by force. But
I know that is an option, but I don't necessarily believe that the idea is that everything you're doing because of the threat of violence.
Well, we're just using different terms here.
The threat of violence is only there for people that don't want to subscribe to the standards of the community.
I'm defining.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm defining government as the use of violence in that sense. So you just have a broader sense of what government.
Well, government is only the use of violence if things go wrong. It's not the use of violence all the time.
Or if someone disagrees with the majority.
That's just shit cops. It's just shit cops.
No, that's anybody who doesn't want to pay for wars. You can protest all you want as long as you keep paying your taxes. There'll still be a war.
Right. I see what you're saying, that your money's going to go to that anyway.
But
it would be a beautiful thing if you were able to vote for whether or not your money went to the war. Boy, would war be different then if you could check off someone should introduce that. They should say you get to vote whether or not any of your tax dollars ever get used for anything military.
It has to be worldwide.
Worldwide, yep. And you'd be like, fuck you. If you could actually decide to pay less taxes or more taxes.
That's exactly what I'm advocating.
Be American.
That's exactly what I'm advocating.
My country.
And
tell you what.
The wars would be really small, just like
a quarter
slap fights between a couple people.
Quarter for extra dollar just to keep me safe.
Exactly.
So I can be free.
Exactly.
Fuck. Free to watch people drive around a circle. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get through this. I don't know if it's going to be the Adam Kokesh model or if it's going to be the Terrence McKenna Mayan Apocalypse 2012 model. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen, but we're going to get through this, dude.
Well, man, I feel really bad now. I've spent all this time answering your questions and talking about
Why do you feel
that
bad?
I always
It's
talk
great.
about. Because I wanted to ask, I wanted to get your mentorship and tap your wisdom and see about what you think I should be doing differently, because
listen, dude. I think you're doing what you want to do, and I think what you want to do is educate people, enlighten people, and express information. And I think that's a beautiful thing. That's why you're so happy. You're happy because you're genuinely doing good things. You're happy because you're genuinely affecting people in a positive way. You're putting out a positive blast of energy and information, and allowing people to empower their thoughts, and allowing people to realize that, hey, man, I'm not crazy. I'm a nice person. There's other people like that out there. There's other people that believe in truth and what real liberty is. Liberty is having the liberty to do what you want. You're not affecting people. Having the ability to roam anywhere unrestricted. You don't have to be fucked with by someone that is just there because there's a job opening, and that job opening is control people and force this shit that's written down on this piece of paper. So you're doing great already.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, man.
Keep on doing what you're doing, man. Just do what you're doing. That's what I'm going to do, and that's what Brian does. We know what the right thing to do is, man. We all have an internal compass that's telling you what to do. You just got to figure out a way to avoid all the pitfalls in life that can keep you from accomplishing that or going in that direction. Everybody's is different. You just got to find it. You dirty bitches, this is not a fucking self-help show, all right? What have you done to me? Dude, thank you very much for coming on,
we haven't talked
man.
about masturbating for like an hour now.
Well, that's a good amount of time to take off. If you ever want to come back and do it again, man, let's do it again. Do it again in the future. If you're ever in LA again, and now that you're a legal medical patient, I'm sure you have to come back to get medicated. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Adam Kokesh. Please watch his podcast.
AdamVersusTheMan.com.
AdamVersusTheMan.com. Follow him on Twitter. Adam Kokesh, Kokesh on Twitter. Brian Redband. Please follow him, Redban. Follow Alienware MMA just for a goof. Follow CTO Coconut Water. They're the shit. They're nice people. And go ahead and follow the Fleshlight, you freak. Do whatever the fuck you want. Thank you to Onnit.com. Go to ONNIT Use the code name Rogan. Save yourself 10% off any and all supplements. We got a show tonight at the Ice House. It's going down in about 2 hours and 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. And it'll be Dom Irrera, Greg Fitzsimmons, Ari Shafir, Brian Redband, Aiko Tanaka,
Ryan Mervis,
Tony Hinchcliffe, and me.
And our San Diego shows sold out Friday. The first one, there's a few more tickets left. And Thursday, there's a few more tickets left. So
there's more than one show on Friday?
Yeah, there's 2 shows.
What time are they?
I think 8:30 and 10:30.
All right, I got 2 shows Friday in San Diego, ladies and gentlemen. American Comedy Company. One of them's already sold out. So come on down, you dirty freaks. This is my first experience in Comic-Con.
And if you're listening in New Jersey, we have another civil disobedience swimsuit protest on the boardwalk in Asbury Park this Saturday, July 14th.
You're not allowed to wear swimsuits on the boardwalk?
It's punishable by a $1,000 fine and 90 days in jail.
God. What kind of cuntiness is this?
We're standing up to the man.
That is not a cop. That is a glorified revenue collector. That is someone's done a piss poor job of managing that fucking community.
It might be just because they don't want girls with thongs around little kids that are on the pier.
Why?
Games.
Let them learn young.
Because
that's a whore, son. See that? Take a good look.
Right.
And
keep
hey,
an eye
veterans,
on those.
I gotta get one more plug in if I may.
Steal your sperm.
Veterans for Ron Paul, who are so inspired like I am by his message to be on this philosophical journey. We are going to be marching on the RNC in Tampa, August 27th. Be there for Paul Fest.
Dude, hold on. Man. You just say you're going to march outside in Tampa in fucking August?
Yeah, 8 miles.
Preposterous.
I was in Fallujah. What do you expect?
That's crazy, man. You're going to kill some old people.
We're going to go salute Ron Paul because he's woken so many people up to
Can
this
you just
message.
drive? Air conditioning and shit. Maybe wave a flag out the window.
You can drive and meet us there, Joe.
Maybe get a tattoo or
We're going to salute Ron Paul.
I'm not walking outside, son. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this fucking podcast is over. Thank you to Adam Kokesh. Thank you very much. This was a lot of fun, man.
My pleasure.
Like I said, we'll do it again, brother.
Absolutely.
For sure. And if you ever need anything, tweeted, you want to let people know, let us know.
Hell yeah.
We'll spread the information. Want to be a part of the revolution.
Hell
Thanks to Onnit.com. Go get yourself some kettlebells, you dirty bitches, and some fucking battle ropes, and get all manly. All right. We will see you next week. We got a lot of people coming up soon. We got Kat Von D and I are in talks. I'm doing a podcast next week. It'll be Kevin Smith's podcast. I'll let you know. We're working that out.
You guys are giving me a hard time for hitting on the weed chick on the air. You guys are talking to porn stars.
Kat Von D's not a porn star. She's a tattoo artist.
Oh, my bad. I'm talking about Brian earlier.
Oh. What did he talk? Oh, yeah. Well, they're his friends, actually. He does podcasts with them. He's actually doing a podcast with Tara Patrick, rather a show with Tara Patrick Saturday night.
Yeah, Naughty show at the same club, AmericanComedyCo.com, DeathSquad.tv.
And that's why you're cooler than me.
Oh, this is not cool. It's nothing cool. There's nothing cool about that. All right. Listen, folks. Thanks for all the love. I can't say it any more succinctly and clearly than that. Thanks for everything. Thanks for the Twitter messages. Thanks for all the positive energy. Thanks for being a part of all this. I don't even know what the fuck this is, but something's going down.
The Lovolution.
Strap in. I don't think it's that. I think that's
We're
his
taking
thing.
off as a species. Get ready.
All right, man. Maybe. See ya.